Good morning. We have 1 minute till 10 o'clock, and we will start at exactly 10 o'clock. So 1 minute, counting down. I can't get, there it is. Good morning. It is 10 o'clock. If I can ask everyone to come to order, we'll call the September 7th meeting to order. That means those of you standing back in the back that are talking, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Welcome to the September 7th meeting of the Volusia County Council. At this time, we will have the invocation given by Tom Carey, and we'll follow that by the Pledge of Allegiance. Those on the council, I invite you to stand. Those in the audience may do as you please. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, that your mercies are new every morning, and this is a new morning, so your mercies are new to us. And speaking of mercies, Lord, we would pray, Lord, that you would have mercy on us and the rest of the folks that stand in the path of Hurricane Irma. I pray, Lord, that you would just direct Irma north and east and out into the Atlantic to dissipate, Lord, and not have the devastating effect that she's predicted to have. You can do this. You're able. Your hand is strong, and we just pray that you would do that. And Lord, I just pray, Lord, that you would be with Mr. Deneen and Mr. Judge and all those who are busy making preparations in our county to get us as well situated as we can be for anything that might come our way. Bless all the county and the city workers, all government workers up and down the state, Lord. Help us to be as prepared as possible, Lord. But Lord, help the effects to be as minimal as possible. And Lord, I just ask that you bless the council today, Lord. I know that in the book of James it says that you give wisdom freely, and I pray that you would give them wisdom today. They've got so much to talk about and so much to consider. Just help them, Lord, in that endeavor. And we thank you and praise you for your graciousness towards us and your listening ear. In Jesus' name, amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. And if any of you that are here or those listening online, if the leader of your faith community would like to offer the invocation, just please contact us here, and we'll make sure that that happens. It's open to all. May we have the roll call, please?
Ms. Post? Here. Ms. Wheeler? Here. Ms. Cusack? Ms. Denny's? Dr. Lowry is absent. Mr. Patterson?
Here.
And Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Unanimous vote is 6-0.
Thank you very much. Okay. I understand that Councilmember Lowry had an emergency at his home this morning that he's having to take care of, and he will be here at 11:30 is his time. So just so that's on the record. Any comments on the consent agenda? Mr. Deneen, I know, wants to comment on item KK. Does anyone on the council wish to comment on any of the agenda items?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
want to item EE, Edward.
EE. Anyone else? Okay. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any objections to the motion? Hearing no objections, the motion carries unanimous, 6-0. Thank you very much. And since EE comes before KK, I'll go with you, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I represent the area of the city of Lake Helen. This is the agreement for the provision of fire and emergency medical services to the city of Lake Helen. And for those that are new on the council, because of the 10 mil cap, this is not part of their millage rate, so we are charging them a fee for their fire services. We're not subsidizing it in any way. I think some people think that we possibly subsidize it, but we're not. They're just paying it. So that this would, if they had to pay this out of their general fund, it would be over the 10 mil cap, and we're trying to help them out with that. But I think that they could help themselves, and I wish that we could encourage them. They have some opportunities to annex some properties that it would be wise for them to go ahead and start doing that. There's a significant piece of property out there that they could annex, and it would really help the tax base. It's contiguous to their property, so I think we should maybe have some conversations with them from staff to say that the council would encourage them to look at these opportunities out there. Okay?
Mr. Chair, if I can add to his comment, we try to deal with all of our cities, especially the ones we have contracts with. In the case of Lake Helen, one of the issues that they have to be really cognizant of is that we accepted payment for them, but it's at the cost of us for running that service. And there was a time when they started to talk to us about, is there some kind of special deal we could give them because they are having financial troubles. There is no latitude. In other words, we cannot subsidize somebody else's fire service with general fund money, so, or police. So what Mr. No.
What's his name?
Mr. Patterson was getting at, could become a serious issue as people reach their caps, because those services that we provide, whether it's police services, fire, whatever, there is no authority to subsidize them, so they have to pay the bill. So he's got a good point. They have to find a way, or they have to restructure how they're going to do business.
Okay, I'll make a point to talk to Mayor Snowden and run that by him. I'm sure you probably have as well, Pat.
I found, the other day, and I woke up in the middle of the night, as I usually do when I get my brainstorms, and I thought, this is an opportunity to encourage them to start doing things like opportunity. That there is a significant piece of property that's going to have some major development on them, and I think it's an opportunity that we should encourage them to go ahead and start annexing it and then working on that.
Okay, great, thanks. Mr. Deneen, on item KK, you have a comment.
Yes, and George will handle this.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Chair, this is a project where the county has been awarded by St. John's River Water Management District a cost share, a grant that will pay about 33%. This is an ongoing project. Rio Way is a situation where we had repeated flooding, and through grants with FEMA and other agencies, we've purchased over 21 flood-prone homes, removed them, and we're putting in a stormwater pond. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Abby Johnson from St. John's Water Management. She's here today to kind of present us the check for that grant, and we really want to say thank you to all her hard work and the hard work of the district. This has been really, the county's been a big beneficiary of working with the district, and Judy Grimm, who's also here, is of course the Road and Bridge Director and the Stormwater Director, and probably going to be one of the busiest people in the county here in a few hours. So she's also here on this project. Ms. Johnson, thank you.
And you can hand me the check, that'd be great.
To
Just
come
get,
and
Yeah.
take a photo with me?
sure, I might as well come get it, right?
About that. But I'll make my remarks really brief as he makes his way down. We're very thankful for the county and every opportunity that we get to partner with you to make improvements for all of our communities, particularly when it comes to projects that restore natural systems or remove people and nature out of floodplain harm, water conservation, and water supply projects. So thank you very much for taking the time to even apply. It is a stiff competition. It's district-wide. So you're competing against 119 municipalities each time you apply with us in a district-wide competition.
Let me just say that area has been badly in need of drainage assistance, so thank you so much.
And we're very thankful, and Those will be my remarks for now, and I just want to present you with this check for
Well,
500
You're earning your pay here. I think you only started here the first of the year or
March.
March. So, I mean, she's starting off really good. We want to keep, you're on our good list.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
don't want to move you off of our good list, so.
No, not at all.
Can you make sure this gets back to Palatka on the wall when you walk in? No, I'm talking about the picture.
Oh, the picture,
So
oh,
that when we're over there, we'll see, you
Oh.
know, the work that you're doing. Thank you very much.
certainly. You'll be on
And
social media
it-
very soon.
It is a very good project. Ormond has done a lot on the area just north of there. And so where we were able to correct with the money, which we actually got some from St. John's as well, in that area when we had the 5-day, 25-inch flood. This area suffered probably more, and now it would be probably not suffering as bad, but it was in the area, it didn't get, all that area along our boundary there, the northern boundary of Ormond. So it's a great project and worthwhile. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, my hat's off to the district and Ms. Johnson in particular, who's really worked with our staff. We're very fortunate to have her and the relationship we do have with the district. And this is through the years, you know, we've evolved into a really good relationship and actual projects that are turning dirt and helping people every day. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will move to item 2, and we have, I thought I saw Mr. Deneen here. Did he become invisible? He's back. Well, I'll bring Sheriff Chitwood, but I don't see him.
He's behind the wall.
Oh, that's why I didn't see him. Sheriff Chitwood, come on down. Let's make a deal. This storm's got me kind of crazy, so.
I think it's got everybody crazy.
And we noticed, someone made a note on Facebook, they all have started not using speed limits, and they think they don't use their indicators to turn anymore. So some of them, that's standard procedure, but and it's a full moon on top of it, so.
It
thank you.
is. We wanted to acknowledge 2 deputies today, but both deputies got a family emergency in the last 12 hours. So I would ask if we could bring this back when I can get them both here. So
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you very
We'll
much.
do it. Thank you. So we need a motion to do that, or Jim, you'll just put it on? Okay. This time we'll move to item number 3. This is a public hearing. I'll need the staff report. It's you?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of council. This is a pretty straightforward
Vacation.
agenda item that we deal with quite often with vacation and abandonment of some platted rights-of-way. The petitioners, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, they purchased a home recently in the Samsula area. It's east of County Road 415, south of Pioneer, and north of 44. It's a very rural area. The home they purchased, built in 1945, it encroaches into the platted right-of-way easement the county has, as well as some deeded right-of-way. And so we've evaluated it, and it does not impact any public purpose. And so staff's recommending approval of this item.
I had no one wishing to speak in the public participation part. Have the staff report. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Denise.
Yes, I move to approve the vacation of a portion of the plat of Howe and Courier's allotment map, Book 4, page 44, and abandonment of a portion of right-of-way conveyed by deed, or Book 3314, page 1316, Samsula area.
Seconded by Mr. Patterson. Any objection or any comments? Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion will stand. Thank you, Mr. Brinson. This time we'll move to item number 5. Number 4 has been moved to follow number 11, so
Mr. Chair? What we have today, as you saw in the information we received from DeLand, is a request to reinvest in the Spring Hill CRA in terms of the resource center. In a second, we'll have the parties come forward and explain the request. In fact, the mayor from DeLand is here, so is the manager. There, as you saw by the material, they're requesting that we match them dollar for dollar up to $250,000 on each part for the resource center. I'll let them explain what the nature of their request is, and we can take it from there. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the council. Bob Apgar, Mayor of DeLand and Chairman of the Spring Hill CRA. Just one quick comment. It's really a thank you in advance to the county council, senior staff, the sheriff's department, public works, and the fire department for all their work that they'll be doing over the next 3 or 4 days to keep Volusia County and the citizens of DeLand safe and moving once the storm passes. The Spring Hill CRA started as a partnership between the city of DeLand and the county of Volusia. And Councilmember Cusack and Mr. Patterson are both members of that board and have been very, very supportive of the efforts of the Spring Hill CRA. Early on, there was a resource center, and the resource center was intended to be a temporary facility. Well, the recession made it into a semi-permanent facility, and today, you know, we're now in a position to move forward with a better resource center. In a moment, Mike Gribos, manager of the CRA, will add some greater detail than I am. But the purpose of the resource center is to, one, help improve the quality of life in Spring Hill, to help keep job training people out of poverty, prevent homelessness, and then post training to keep them moving forward. It provides a variety of services, and it's outgrown its current location. After Mr. Gribos concludes his remarks, City Manager Michael Ployce, at the suggestion of Mr. Deneen, will update the council on the status of the West Volusia Homeless Project. We appreciate your consideration of this Spring Hill CRA's request for funding to assist in construction of the new facility. Thank you, and to each and every one of you, please stay safe.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mike Gribos. I'm the Assistant City Manager and the CRA Director for Spring Hill. Just for a little more background on the request and the Resource Center itself, because I know that sometimes we need to know a little bit background on what that Resource Center does. And really what the Resource Center does is it provides, and I'll list out the services here, it provides job search assistance, resume creation, unemployment compensation assistance, EBT assistance, notary services, Social Security assistance, healthcare coverage assistance, school supply assistance, computer access services, court volunteer hour assistance, DCF assistance, healthy living HIV assistance, and some other programs like that for social service type aspects. There's also community workshops held in that center because of the location of it. Just recently we did a credit counseling session, and we did a first-time homebuyer education program at the center. And we also do administration as far as grants, property improvement grants we administer out of that center. People come in and can apply. That's through CRA funds. And they also have sewer connection assistant grants when money is available that we also administer out of that center. So they also do a lot of special events. They do a turn festival, expungement classes, toy drives, healthy living, cooking. So there's a lot of activity out of that center for the residents that they get. And again, as the mayor stated, we're running out of space. We've run out of space. We don't have, in the current facility, we don't have the proper land to expand, so we need to purchase new land to build this new facility, to right size it, have the right amenities for the center. And in going into that request, basically what we're asking is for a match, a 50-50 match. $250,000 from the county would be the match, $250,000 from the city's general fund would be the match for this assistance request. The funding would not go to operating. It's all capital. It's all for the facility. It's a one-time capital request. The city and the CRA will continue to fund the operating of the center. And even though we would have a new center with a bigger facility, there's still no operating additional ask on the county. It's all going to be absorbed by the CRA and the city. This funding will actually help the CRA. Instead of paying down a debt note on the building and on this purchase, they can use that money towards programs and services to help the folks in the Spring Hill CRA. So if we were able to get this match with the county and the city, it would really help the CRA out, because if you all have seen in your agenda packages there, the TIF funds that we've been able or not able to receive over the past several years really have put a damper on what the CRA can do. So any assistance like this would greatly boost the use of any TIF funds that are scheduled to come in for the residents of the CRA. So again, this facility, it would be a bigger facility, probably about double the size of the current facility. So the new facility we're projecting to be about 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. We're expecting it to have the proper size, have a proper meeting area so we can potentially house the CRA meeting there, because right now we house it at City Hall because of the size and location of the center. So we can house it inside the CRA itself. And again, as we go back, this is something that can help people from becoming homeless and help people after the fact. So we really think this is a great project, and we ask for your consideration today, and I'll be here to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael.
Mr. Chair, members of the council, good morning. I extend my thank you as well to everything that county government is doing to help us get prepared for the storm. I just wanted to update you real briefly on the homeless shelter. Actually, things are going good, never as fast as you want them to, but the mayor and I have had nearly 30 meetings, one-on-one asks with churches and businesses, and I'm pleased to report to date that we've raised, sorry, I got to use these, $75,000 from businesses, $42,880 from churches, and the balance from local governments for a total of $279,380 committed, with only $35,000 left to go. So we are in the home stretch. That's always the hardest part, but we do have some promising asks out there that we think will yield some fruit. And in the meantime, what we're trying to do is shore up plans for two major things, and that is, the feeding and transportation. Because it is a West Volusia solution, transportation also comes into play, and so we're working with the churches on that as well as the food, because we intend, as I mentioned previously when we made the request, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the facility. And so we do have commitments from the churches to help us with that, but the devil's in the details on how all that will work out. So that meeting will occur in October, and hopefully there, even if we're within close distance to how much we're trying to raise, what I'll do is I'll ask Mr. Deneen if we can go ahead and start planning for the facility, and we'll keep fundraising, because we don't need the operating dollars until it's actually up and running. And getting it constructed, designed and constructed will take about a year anyway. So we want to try to get that started here pretty shortly. So.
Thank you. Thank you for slipping that little tidbit in on this item.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, Mr. Patterson.
Yeah, I hope those listening out there don't get the two, these are two different things that we're talking about here. One is the resource center and the other is the homeless shelter.
And that was my comment for sneaking it in, but
yeah.
I'll let it slide.
That's all right. No, I know that there's some exciting things happening with the new Walmart store coming in, and annexing that in will definitely help the CRA generate some revenue, which I look forward to. And I'm hoping that there's some other exciting things that come along that would further enhance the potential revenue to the CRA. Yes, Mayor.
Mr. Patterson, if I might, I want to make one comment. You have aha moments, and when the county graciously worked with us to include the new Walmart within the CRA, we're getting into a little bit of a timing crunch, because we need to annex it by the end of the year, so it's the unimproved value. So next year, when it goes on, is improved, and depending on where they are construction-wise, we may need to cooperate on getting them through the home stretch in terms of the finalization of their building and construction. I just don't know what their timing is, but it's something we
now
may need
we've
to work
added the third item to this. So.
Yeah, I think
let's stick to the item. Any additional comments?
Maybe this afternoon on council time, we can bring that up, the annexation issue. So Mr. Chair, I move approval for the Spring Hill Community Redevelopment Agency's request for construction funds to build a new resource center up to the amount of $250,000 as a match for their contribution. So that is my motion.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Cusack. Any comments or questions by the council? Ms. Cusack, it's not showing up today. I don't know. Did I do something to it? It's just showing Volusia County, Florida, with a little sunshine on it.
Go ahead, Joyce.
I'm that sunshine, Mr.
Okay, you punched in though, right?
I did.
Okay, so nobody, but you, Ms. Cusack,
It still
And I'm
shows
next.
here that I have it on.
okay,
Okay.
you're on. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give kudos to everyone involved in this Spring Hill CRA. It is a great service to the citizens in West Volusia and in the Spring Hill area. As it has been indicated, the number of projects that go through that CRA and the Resource Center is so beneficial to the citizens. And I just want to applaud county government and the city for your continued support of this CRA and the fact that you help so many. And I cannot express to you enough, it's a hand up to help the least of these. And hopefully they will be, we talk about CRAs as being economic drivers. Well, that's what we do. And this is one of those things that by providing opportunities for folk to get jobs and to know the process of applications and all of the things for becoming homeowners, all of that increases the tax base. So I'm pleased to second that motion, and hopefully that we will approve this, and kudos to everyone involved. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Deneen.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what we're looking for today in your motion is direction, because Dan would have to approve have to prepare the legislation. We'd have an interlocal with them. So today you would just be approving the concept, if you so choose, approving direction for us, and then at the next meeting, we would have the appropriate legislation and interlocal, because we'd want to have an agreement between the two of us.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, then I'll amend my motion to direct staff to come forward with the necessary paperwork for the $250,000. So,
And the second.
I will also, but I want to be clear that this is the direction that we want to move.
Correct.
yeah.
But you want to he's got to have a legal document and an agreement with them, is all I'm saying. That's the way we would do it.
Okay, just so long at the end of the day,
Okay,
we have the money.
we have an amendment to the motion. Any objection to the amended motion? The amendment? Hearing no objections, the amendment passes. Any objection to the motion as amended? Hearing no objections to the motion as amended, it passed unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
you
Chair.
have the clear direction. How'd I do on that one, Pat? Did I pretty good?
Yeah,
I'm
you're
learning.
learning.
With that, we'll move to item 6. Clay Irvin, I think,
Just
a little follow-up on
work something out agreement, okay?
the beach side.
Good morning, Clay Irvin, Director of Growth and Resource Management. Before you is a request that came from the Beachside Redevelopment Committee. This came forward at their August 21st, 2017 meeting. Chairman Grippa identified a need to expand the membership base of that committee by including the mayor of Daytona Beach. The committee as a whole unanimously recommended that motion and bring it forward. Since y'all created this committee, its membership, it can only be amended by y'all. And one of the things that you'll see from staff, and I also say that this was part of the recommendations from the committee, they just didn't make it as part of their motion, is that if the council decides to expand the membership, they should also include the other two cities that are involved, specifically Daytona Beach Shores and Ormond Beach. Anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Ms. Cusack? Unless you didn't come off. Ms. Wheeler? Mr. Dean, you didn't punch down again, did you? Okay, we're having a little technical difficulties.
I was
Wheeler.
just going to, I was going to make a motion to direct staff. Is that what we're needing to go ahead and move that forward?
No, this was
You just-
actually a council
You would just
decision.
approve this as council.
Approve it,
Yeah.
okay.
You make a motion to
I do.
approve
I
the
motion
additional
to
of
approve.
2 new members.
Wait, no, that'd be 3 new members.
The total of 3.
So
Uh,
it-
Total of 3, which I thought were going to be on it originally. There's a motion to approve 3
3 new
new
members.
members to the Beachside Redevelopment Committee. Is
to
there a
be
second?
clear, though, it's the mayor's. To be clear, I mean, let's get specific on this.
Is there a second? There's a second by Ms. Cusack.
Right?
And
One of the, I just need to clarify that the mayor from Daytona Beach Shores is already on the committee, so that would mean that they would have the opportunity to add someone else from their council onto the, and for Mormon Beach, the
Same
vice
thing.
mayor
is on.
is on there, so that would give them the opportunity to add another member from their
Yeah.
commission.
Originally, when this was,
So it's,
right, originally when this was conceived, it was going to be the 3 members from the city, and I think the confusion, or not confusion, but the additional member of the mayor plus their representative created this, so they'll have 2 representatives from each Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, and the Shores.
And when they do this, because they'll have 2 members on there, each city will be responsible for however they want to handle their own minutes, not us. They'll be responsible.
Be up to them to handle whether they want it to be the mayor or not, so I didn't think that was necessarily tied to it. We're clear on the motion?
I think Mr. Dedeen is bringing up a critical issue here because of potential sunshine laws, and he's talking about them providing somebody to be there to take minutes of the meeting.
Or they'd have to work with us, and they'd have to agree, I guess, to our minute taking, but they need to be clear about that they make a decision on how they want their own minutes handled for their own purpose, because they have a sunshine issue now that they have 2 of their own council members on there. I'm just putting it on the record so that Clay can tell them, make sure that's handled, because I don't want to have an issue where someone comes forward now and says you have a sunshine issue.
My understanding, it was advertised as public meetings when they had them. Clay, is that correct? Or
We're
not?
covered from our recording, but the problem is that you have, when you get 2 members from each
Understand
one,
that.
then they have to handle it. And so as Mr. Deneen and Mr. Eckert have identified to me, it does create a bit of a logistics. We need to make sure that the respective clerks and administrative staff from the 3 cities understand what's going on.
Correct.
And if they're willing to accept our minutes, that's fine. If not, they need to be able to come in and
I think they can figure that out.
Yeah.
Correct.
Let's just be responsible for our end and let them.
I just want to go on record, it is their responsibility.
Good.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded. Any other conversation or discussion of this?
Yeah, I
Ms.
still
Patterson.
have problems with this whole thing. I think when we started out with 3 representatives, 1 from each city, I think that's more than enough. I don't know why we're just convoluting this anymore. It's just, next thing you know, we're going to be taking a member from a particular organization, or, you know, it just keeps expanding here, and I don't think it serves any real purpose. I really don't think putting the 3 people on there, when you already have a vice mayor, you have 1 mayor that's already on there, maybe Daytona could take their person off that they've assigned and put the mayor on there. I think that would probably be better if they want to do that, but just doing this sounds ridiculous to me. I can't really support it.
I agree. I thought that would have been the thing to do, but I think at the time they did that, I think Mayor Henry wasn't sure that he was going to have the time to dedicate, but as it's so important, and they're doing this without input from us, allow them to operate as they feel. If they feel that's going to help them produce a better report for us, then I'm okay with it. Ms. Cusack?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to add that I'm okay with this committee, and I think that different eyes, different ears looking at and digesting and looking at a situation or a progress that we might be able to make, I don't see the problem with that. And if there is a problem, then you just would vote against it and just move on.
Exactly. Mr. Patterson?
I think we might as well just put 2 county council members on there.
I think not.
that you.
No, and see, if you think that's
Both.
no, if you think that's ridiculous, then why are we doing what we're doing now, putting 2 more, having 2 city representatives on there? If you're
Yeah.
going to make it ridiculous, that is ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah,
look.
ad hoc committee, they're not making any decision, they're making recommendations, And so
But,
it would-
but we have a stake in this.
Yeah.
that we can say yes or no, and
Okay.
that's the
That's
stake
it.
that we have.
Ms. Denny's, you say call the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, there's a quote that says there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. And maybe we can apply that to this particular organization here. Yeah, but it does work. I think this could be, I understand your concerns. I had the same at the beginning. However, when we appointed this group, this working group, part of the discussion at the time was, at the initial meeting, was that they were going to try to find other funding sources and grants that maybe we didn't have access to. So when they're done and they come up with a plan, adding more city representatives or electeds puts us into their budget and into their sphere of influence as much as anyone else in looking for grants. So I think the more we bring to the table and bring into this conversation for a successful conclusion, and if they find funding sources outside of the county, that's the purpose, I welcome it. I welcome any, and I agree with you, Councilwoman Cusack, more eyes on this subject and more conversation outside of normal is going to be beneficial to all of us, hopefully, in the end, and I'm comfortable with it.
Thank you. And it is at their interest to develop and seek those things. It will benefit each of those cities, and it will benefit the county for what they come up with. So, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Let the record show that 5-1 with Mr. Patterson being the lone no vote. Okay. Although I agree with everything you said, the way it started. So we're there. We'll now move on to item 7. And this will be discussion regarding the exception to the rental setup on the beach concession.
Mr. Chair,
And I don't see your name on here, Jamie.
I understand the manager has just asked me to lead this off, so I guess
what?
the manager asked me to
lead it
lead
off.
this
I
off,
thought you
yes,
said leave
sir.
it off.
So I will be leading off this discussion.
There we go.
I think the agenda item clearly sets forth how we are in the position we're in and why we're before you on an exception to the RFP. The concession has provided a first negotiated proposal that is in your agenda package. From that, we have moved on to the second negotiated proposal. You all received by email last night a letter from Mr. Storch, and that is in front of you. In that letter, he took exception to a series of maps that were prepared. You currently have in front of you a new set of maps that comports with his email and his letter. Specifically, he took issue with the fact that while the second proposal states that the locations would be termed unmanned, he refers to them as satellite. And so those maps have been correctly identified as satellite locations. How we got here is the RFP specifically sets forth within designated areas of the beach called from ramp to ramp a set maximum number of rental locations. The concessionaire was reducing the number of locations that he wanted to operate, but requested to move the vacant setups that were allowed to the locations. So of the 38 locations on the North Beach, if he only operated 20, he wanted the setups that were available for the other 18 that he would not be operating moved to locations where he deemed them to be appropriate. Staff feels very strongly that the RFP, as it was drafted, provides sufficient opportunity for the concessionaire to place and display his equipment on the beach before the public accesses the beach. Prior to the current concession contract, concessionaires were allowed 150 feet on the beach. The current concession contract is silent. However, the beach code states that the concessionaire may display in front of a concession vehicle. Over the last 7 years, we've received numerous conversations and statements from council during public meetings that the number of setups of vacant chair and umbrella stands has been excessive. And why hasn't the staff asked the concessionaires to take them down? When we prepared this RFP, it was prepared recognizing that not only this council, but previous councils have raised that concern. The bid document said 15 in front of a concession vehicle, spaced 20 feet, no less than 20 feet apart. It also included in the 15 vacant rentals any reserved any reserved setups. So when they take reservations from a hotel, that they say tell us are sometimes as many as 40 or 50 a day, that they may only leave a vacant one there. As soon as someone comes down and occupies it, they may put out another vacant one, but there shall be no more than 15 vacant at any given time, including the reserved. That is how the bid document was written. Spreading them out 20 feet apart is about 300 feet along the beach. That's about a football field. So it gives them the opportunity to spread them along about a football field length along the beach. Our main concern has been that it appears that the beach has been reserved. If you look at the vacant setups closely together, and you are a member of the public, it does not appear to you that that is a welcoming area for you, nor do you feel that you can ask that vacant setup to be moved. Now, while the concessionaire has said they would move them, it still has a chilling effect to a general member of the public coming down onto the beach. That is why staff drafted the RFP as they did. When this came to you, Mr. Storch's letter indicates that he believed that council gave direction to the staff to allow for them to have more setups. I listened to the meeting. I then transcribed the meeting. I wanted to make sure that I had not missed something because I feel very poorly if I misled the manager or anyone else in this direction. And the statement made by Mr. Storch was, your RFP, and we agreed to do that, but at the same time, I know that Chairman Kelly has suggested that we want to find ways of managing this in such a way that we preserve as many parking spaces on the beach as possible. And there's a reason we want as many people on the beach as possible because that's more customers for us. So we have a plan. That is the only reference made to potentially changing the way the setups were placed on the beach. When council had its discussion, the only two issues council raised were the colors of the concessions and the number and size of the roving concessions. And that is how we proceeded into the negotiations. So here we are in a posture where they're asking to have what they're calling satellite locations. There is nothing in the bid about satellite locations. Mr. Storch poses this in a question to you, that they may have 15 setups and that the concession vehicle that's required by the beach code would be a golf cart, and that they would, in their locations, have a golf cart, equipment, and then 15 vacant setups. They would make a determination of where they would actually have their full concession vehicle that brought the equipment down onto the beach and where they would have these satellite locations. Now, the only thing I would like to clarify at this point is the second proposal actually increases the number of concessions between Zelda and Silver Beach that are actually in the bid. The bid authorized 17 in that area. The second negotiation proposal asks for 19. So I would consider that to be an exception also, and I bring that to your attention. And I think I've laid this out. I think the manager may have a couple more comments.
I just got really one comment, and that is for all of you that've been on the council, when we have longly debated all these issues, and the ocean deck is a perfect example. I think that what they are requesting will fly in the face of the other decisions that the council made to make sure that the beach was not obstructed. And it's been a policy for a long time, as you know, the ones that were here, that we worked with the ocean deck. We tried to make that work for everyone with the idea that we would hold everyone accountable to keeping the beach open and free and give public access. While I understand their need to do business, I do believe that this flies in the face of the restrictions that we have been putting on the ocean deck and everyone else, that we do not allow people to go out and occupy the beach unless they do it as a person in a chair that they're already using. Thank you.
I agree, and I guess at this time we will hear from, thank you, Jamie, and Mr. Storch. I know there you are hiding behind that.
I am.
You need to give that to Marcy, and she will then, or someone to distribute it, because I guess they have to scan it in to make sure that you're not slipping something on us.
Right. First of all, my name is Glenn Storch.
Just before you start, let the record show that Councilmember Lowry is now here at 10:42.
And my apologies to the chair and everybody else, but thank you.
My name is Glenn Storch, and I do represent Volusia Beach Rentals. You know, a few weeks ago, I got to tell you how gratified we were, both by the support that we received from the council and the support we received from the community as a result of getting the concession contract on this. That's because these people have been operating on the beach for literally sometimes as much as 35 years. And they have developed a good bond with the public. They've developed a good bond with the staff. They've worked well with everyone. They solve problems. That's why everyone was so happy, I think, that these people were the ones who actually got the bid and are going to be the beach concessionaires for the future. In that capacity, we had a meeting before I went on vacation. And the meeting was with staff and them to work out all the issues that were resulting from the beach contract. We worked out every single issue. I thought we worked out every single issue at that point. And that's why that first proposal that you received was based on what we had discussed with staff at that time. And the concept, again, was, and maybe you didn't express this, but I certainly understood this, there was a goal to try and reduce the number of parking spaces used by the beach concessionaires so that we allow for the public to have more parking spaces. That's fine. And so that was our concept. And if you'll see, well, there you go, right there. If you'll see from this, the umbrellas themselves use absolutely no parking spaces. The only parking space area used is by the trucks. And I think we're allowed to have 50 feet, linear feet for each of these trucks. Well, the concept again was, let's try and reduce the number of trucks and the number of parking spaces used on the beach. The umbrellas have no impact whatsoever. We're allowed to have the 15 umbrellas. We're not contesting that. We're going to put those out just like we've always done, no problem whatsoever. The only question is where and how. Presently, we do more than what you've got, but we want to make sure we're consistent with the beach with the RFP. So we made our submittal to the county staff. We thought everything had been worked out. My understanding is there was a meeting with legal, and they were not happy with the submittal, so it went back again. I was on vacation. There was a resubmittal as to trying to comply with the staff directive, which was you have to have a site for each one of these 15-foot or 15 umbrella locations. Fine. They provided that. Unfortunately, they used the term unmanned for some of these. That's not correct. And so in looking at this and getting back and listening to what the issue was, the issue seemed to be, to me, we want to make sure that each one of these locations you're entitled to is in fact a manned location like we talked about. Fine. And the question was, why can't we use a less expensive system where we use these really nice golf carts, where we have them all decked out and everything, where we use the golf cart as our business location, you know, we have somebody there, where we have someone there, where we have someone who can actually do the concession, and we do that as opposed to these large trucks. We only need about 10 feet of the beach for each of the golf carts, as opposed to about 50 feet for the trucks. So I thought that was great. I thought that solved the problem, and we were on our way. And then I saw the staff report, and the staff report didn't take any account in this. And honestly, I think if we had had more time after I got back to sit down together, we could have worked this out. This is somewhat of a tempest in a teapot. But the bottom line is, so yesterday, I made sure that we put it in writing. This is what we're proposing. And my understanding from staff is that the really only issue is whether the golf cart qualifies as a concession vehicle. Because we're allowed to have, like I say, if I remember correctly, 44 concession vehicles on the beach. That's what the RFP says. We're going to put 44 concession vehicles on the beach. The only question is, what type of vehicles? Do we have to do giant trucks, or can we do half of these as smaller vehicles, as golf cart sized? Do we have to take up 50 feet for every one of these trucks, or can we take up 10 feet for half of them? That's the only question. Other than that, we're going to comply totally with the RFP. Now, I will tell you, it's in our interest, from a business standpoint, if we don't have to invest in giant trucks. I believe it's in the public interest if we don't have to have all these giant trucks on the beach. I believe it's in the public's interest if we can reduce the amount of parking used by the giant trucks so that we have more parking for the public. I thought it was a win-win. I didn't see anything wrong with that. Tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, if I'm missing something, tell me. But everything else that Jamie was talking about, everything as far as the RFP, we'll meet all this. We'll meet everything we're talked about. We're ready to go. We're ready to enter into the contract. The only question for you is whether or not we can use the golf carts as concession vehicle locations, manned, and that's why I put it in writing, manned concession vehicle locations, or do we have to do trucks? Is that right? Okay. So that's really the only issue as far as clarification. I thought we were doing it the right way. I thought I was listening to what you were hoping to see as well. I thought we did everything correctly. I don't know what the issue is, and I apologize for going on vacation. So hopefully we can solve this. And again, we've got our entire team here. We're ready to answer any questions if there's issues. You can see from this picture, it doesn't really interfere with anybody's use of the beach. In fact, I see one of those umbrellas down there is right in the center of everything is somebody else's umbrella. But the bottom line is there's lots of room for things to happen, lots of room on the beach. You can do this the right way. We'll make sure that our umbrellas, by the way, I should point this out. One of the reasons that the beach department was so happy in working with us is because we follow the rules. We work together with people, we work together with staff, we make sure that our independent contractors follow the rules. This is a very well-run operation. And that's why you've received no complaints from the public as far as our operation. And that's what we're going to keep it. And we're going to keep on doing this, and we're going to keep on working with staff. So we look forward to continuing this. If you can just give us some input on that one issue, whether we can use smaller vehicles as opposed to large trucks for our concessionaires.
I think we're ready to give you some input.
All right, thanks.
Ms. Seaman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that there actually are two issues, because it was originally presented by the client without Mr. Storch's advice as unmanned. He then recharacterized it as satellite. He has indicated that it will be manned, but there is nothing in the RFP about satellite locations. The RFP allows for fully operational, up to 38, and they are to be distributed between the zones on the beach as set forth in the RFP. So I believe there's two. Are you going to allow satellite locations? And if you're going to allow satellite locations, are you going to allow them to be operated from a golf cart? A golf cart that is utilized to move the equipment around. It's not a stationary vehicle parked on the beach like the beach concession vehicles. And that's the premise upon which the beach code was originally drafted. These vehicles came down, parked in the morning, and then there would be a display area in which they would display their merchandise.
Okay.
So that, I think there's really two issues for
Right.
you to address.
And if I can clarify, those will be stationary vehicles. We don't, the language satellite, apparently that throws everybody. These are,
It sounds better than unmanned. Okay.
I thought so too.
Wordsmithing.
So the idea is we're going to have a vehicle, just like any of the other vehicles. It's going to be a golf cart. It's going to sit there on that location. It's going to be manned. It'll be fully operational. Everything you've asked for. The only question is size. These are not going to be moving around. They're going to be sitting right there, functioning as a location.
Okay. Ms. Cusack?
Well, it seems to me, Mr. Chair and members, that if we are changing some requirements with a RFP, then you have to renegotiate that. And so it gives me heartburn that staff is not on board where you are. It seems like we're talking two different things here. The vendor is saying one thing, staff is saying, so I don't know exactly what we need to hear. I'd like to hear something from those folk that are on the beach, that I want to make sure that customers have the right to have access to that beach. I don't want a vendor to come and use up all this points and say that they have their reserved signs on these things. How would I know as Mr. Moses that you can ask them to move them? You see reserved, any respectful person would not do that. They wouldn't ask you to move it. And so I have some heartburn with this whole situation here. So if you're not clear and staff is not clear as to, and you're not on the same page and you want us to sit here
Nope.
and make a decision about something,
I want to tell you that we're totally on the same page.
I want staff to also tell me that what you're saying is what they
We are on the
envision.
same page as far as every aspect
I'm not
of the
hearing that from
RFP.
them.
That's conjecture.
Yeah, we are on the same thing as far as every part of the RFP. We have met every criteria of the RFP. We're putting the umbrellas in the location where we're supposed to put them. We're doing everything we're required to do. The only question is, do you want us to use large vehicles on
What
some of
did you
this?
propose in your proposal?
We did exactly what the thing said.
Was it
44
large truck?
No, it said 44 vehicles. It doesn't say the size of the trucks. You said 44 vehicles. We're putting 44 vehicles out.
I think somewhere, Jamie, I think it was
Somebody needs to
referenced as
tell
to
us
what it
something
would be, because the way I saw this thing unfolding was that you were going to go out and set up 300 feet of umbrellas that no one could park on, no one could use, and that flies in the face of us being friendly for the others to do that. And if that transpired, because Ms. Cusack, you're absolutely right. If I went down there and I saw go somewhere else, I'd have to go somewhere else because you're not going to infringe upon that. And I think that's the sticking in at least two of us, and I'm guessing probably some of us don't want. I'd rather see no umbrellas there at all and no golf cart if you're not going to have it. Originally it was not going to be manned. Jamie, did you have another point of
I
fact?
appreciate Mr. Storch's position now, but the bid document took exception to the setup. The bid document in writing took exception. Their first, as our purchasing department calls them, negotiation proposals. The first negotiation proposal did propose only operating out of 20 locations and distributing the setups among those 20 locations, the setups for all 38 amongst the 20 locations. It's in your package. That's what it proposed. The second negotiation proposal proposed unmanned. Thursday of last week, Mr. Storch said not unmanned, satellite. When I pointed out to him that our beach code, which the bid document says you must comply with, required the setups to be placed in front of a concession vehicle, he suggested to me that they would put a golf cart there. So I do take issue that they are complying with every provision of the RFP because they took exception to it in their bid document. Now, if they are going to remove the exception completely, and we aren't talking golf carts, and we're talking that they can choose to operate up to the maximum number under the bid document of no more than 15, then we're done. But I have not heard that here today.
Let me add something. If we were in agreement, he wouldn't be standing there. We would have agreed with it and passed it on. We don't agree. They did take exception. And in all fairness, let me finish.
Okay.
I really do believe that when you start going to the extent that they want, I'm asking them to find the picture they showed us of what the setups would look like. You know, it looks like Normandy Beach with everything lined up where you couldn't come ashore. The point is that we make it clear with other property owners along the beach that you're not allowed to block the rights of other people. And I do believe in giving him 15 setups because, I'll be honest with you, we thought that was stretching it. 15 with no people in them, that's a big chunk of the beach that's been devoted that other people can't use. To expand that, we believe is well beyond what the council has originally done with other property owners. And we want him to be successful, but we think that we would be undermining our argument when we deal with other people with other issues. We also think this will create issues with people that haven't done this already.
Let's hear what some of the other council would like to say. Ms. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at this, listening to this discussion, it's going back and forth. I heard, Jamie, you said in presentation that they have 40 reservations, they can do 40 and then another 15. Is that the way the contract reads?
No, ma'am. They currently tell us that their business model, that they get as many as 40 reservations from a hotel a day. So if they are located in front of the Hilton or in front of the Shores Spa or potentially the new Hard Rock, they will get 40 reservations. The way they operate currently is they will put those 40 out first thing in the morning. The way the bid document reads, they get 15, and it must include any vacant reservations to restrict it back down.
Okay, I got it. And that's a huge issue because this picture is exactly what we don't want.
Well, let me bring it to-
Hold on, Mr.
Let me finish. This is a chilling effect, and there's nobody on the beach, and you're right, Councilman Cusick, that's going to say, excuse me, I want that spot. Can you move your chair and your I promise you, I'm sorry, I don't care how good you are, just the look that would come from the vendor to the person at the beach, that doesn't cut it. That's not an acceptable option. It does have a chilling effect, and I agree. 15 is the max.
We're not contesting 15.
So what's the issue?
That's what I'm saying. We don't
The
have a
issue,
problem.
Ms. Denny's, is they want satellite locations with a golf cart.
Vehicles, yeah.
With a golf cart,
Well, okay, but then, okay, and I.
in which they can set up 15 more.
No. We are I think you need to understand, we are entitled to 44 sites. We are entitled to 44 sites, and each site allows us to have 15 setups at that site. That's all we're asking for.
Okay, so
That's
let's
what
go.
we're
With the
entitled to.
concession vehicle,
So the only,
not a golf cart.
the only question is, what type of concession vehicle do you want to
Okay,
have?
let's take this down to the basic denominator here, common denominators. In the RFP, did we agree to 44 spots? We did.
Up to, wasn't it?
Up to 44,
Right.
okay. So we're in agreement with that. And we're also in agreement, there's only 15 setups, period.
Yes.
Until they fill up, then you add them one at a time, and this will not happen again.
That's correct.
Okay.
And in fact, you also are required to have the umbrella space now, so that there'll be more room between the umbrellas.
Well, okay. But anyway, okay, so we agree up to 44, we agree 15, right? And honestly, whether it's a big beach concession vehicle or a golf cart, I have no problem, personally have no problem with golf carts.
That's the only issue to me. Because we'll agree to everything.
It's one less big
Glenn,
vehicle.
Okay, let's try to get the council's.
Let me finish. It's
That's
one
what I'm
less
trying to
big
do.
vehicle on the beach, which is what we want, which is why we got rid of our big trucks and we went to little four-wheelers. So the very thing that we're doing for safety, I think we should encourage vendor participation. I personally, I don't see that as a negative. I have no problem with the golf carts. And if you stay within the RFP guidelines, 15 and 44, I'm okay with golf carts. If we can come to it and make it an agreement, I'm good with that.
Okay, Mr. Patterson. Jamie, I know you've got something else. I don't know how you get slipped ahead of everybody, but you must be able to have access to that screen.
Special button.
I'm gonna go with Mr. Patterson
I
first.
think it's
though.
the flaming hair.
Probably. We don't want to get her upset, though.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. Neither do I. Actually, I think Mrs. Cusack raised a point here that maybe we just need to go out and redo this whole RFP and start all over again, because it seems like to me, if we do what they're talking about doing, there are people out there that are probably going to be, that would have probably wanted to be vendors if they'd known that there was a little bit of difference, a little bit of latitude that they could have in what they were going to do. So I make a motion that we just go out for a brand new RFP.
I mean, I know you can make a motion anytime you want. I'd like to have input from the council members.
Well,
but we can do
either
that.
it dies for a second or
Okay.
somebody seconds it and it goes on for discussion, but
I understand that.
So I do have a motion on the floor here, because that's, I don't think it's fair to other vendors, and there were other vendors who wanted to come in, and if we're gonna change the rules here a little bit, then we need to do the whole process all over again.
Not asking to change the rules.
There is a motion on the floor to go for our RFP.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that just for discussion.
There's a second on that for discussion, and with that being said, let me just weigh in just a minute.
Well, I'm not finished here.
Well,
No,
we
I
can
just
still
have one
comment
point.
the motion's made and seconded.
Yeah, but I still can comment on the motion that I just made.
Oh, your name popped off, sorry. But you can, but let's let all of us that haven't had a chance to comment on the motion and anything that we're discussing. So I was ready just to let the hotels take the concessions if they wanted it personally. I don't like the idea of 15 or 300 feet of umbrellas sitting down there occupying the beach, because I don't think that's what we're trying to achieve. And I don't like negotiating. I know we negotiated, but we negotiated with the RFP, and what we're negotiating is not in compliance with what the RFP stated, which is I'm in agreement with you, Mr. Patterson, on that part of it, and Ms. Cusack, because we're now deviating from the RFP. Now, if your policy is that you can negotiate, that's one thing. For what little money that's derived from this and the time and energy and effort that we're doing, if the hotels want to have their own setups and they comply, yeah, I'm at this point of just saying to scrap the whole thing. But Ms. Wheeler, you hadn't commented.
Yeah. To me, I feel that is not what's in front of us. The staff was asked to please work out a few items with you.
Right.
And from my understanding, those items have all been worked out except for the concessionaire truck and what exactly is a concessionaire truck.
Right.
I haven't seen anything that specifies this concessionaire truck has to be this. And I guess my opinion is if we're not changing the amounts, and I hear that very clearly, I would rather see a golf cart than a great big truck blocking off the space. So if we're only talking about what qualifies as a concessionaire truck, I don't think we have anything that's legally specifically says a concessionaire truck has to be X amount wide. I would rather
I
see
didn't
a
see
golf
that.
cart
Glenn,
than the truck.
just, yeah, just let,
I appreciate it.
I'll have to put a gag on you. Ms. Post?
So I'm unclear as well as to how this is a change in the RFP if it's just the language that we're looking at, and if it's just the definition of what is a commercial vehicle or a concession vehicle, then that's the issue in front of us. That's what we need to be looking at. And I don't see that as a change in the RFP. I see that as that's the actual language that's in the RFP, and we're looking at defining that. So if we can, I think that's the issue in front of us. I don't.
Okay, well, the issue in front of us right now is a motion made and seconded for discussion to cancel this and go out for a new RFP, and that's what we will be voting
Right,
on.
and I just gave my opinion on that.
Yeah, sure, no, and that's all part of, and that would come part of you making your decision on whether to accept this or not, the motion. Ms. Seaman?
Thank you. The definition of vehicle in the beach code means any device in, upon, or by which a person or property is or may be transported or drawn upon a highway. So a concession vehicle, by definition of the beach code, would be operated on a highway. A golf cart may not be operated on a highway.
Well, there you go. Then what's
that's
the
right.
discussion?
We will meet whatever criteria it is. What I'm trying to do, though, is use smaller vehicles than a typical.
But I would
construction
also,
truck.
I would also like to point out that we went from manned, unmanned to satellite. The bid as it is issued has no separation for the concessionaires. So although 19 are allowed between Zelda and Silver Beach, and I believe when staff drafted it, they thought that they would be in their historic locations. The second proposed negotiation proposal indicated that there would be 9 of them located in the 1 mile drive-free beach. 9. So that would be 9 times
mile.
15 umbrellas
Half a mile.
set up first thing in the morning
Again,
in the no-drive beach. So to the extent you are concerned that the RFP was not specific enough and did not have enough detail in it, that we are unable to properly negotiate this, I would agree with Mr. Patterson. If you feel that there was enough data, enough information, and that we can somehow work this out and it will not be a problem over the next 5 years, then we will try to negotiate with them regarding this issue.
Okay. Mr. Patterson, did you want to make another comment, please?
Well, and I think Jamie just kind of hit the nail on the head. I think of the number of laws, and we're not talking this is a law, but think of the number of laws that judges have come in and said it's too vague, therefore it's unconstitutional. So I think we're in a situation here with a contract that there are probably other people out there that would have interpreted. If they had known that we'd be at this point right now, they would have probably bid differently themselves. And I don't think it's fair to all those that were interested in bidding that now we're at this juncture arguing over this. And Glenn is a good friend of mine. He's probably got somebody out there letting the air out of my tires on my car right now. And I enjoy listening to lawyers be lawyers, but I think Jamie's got a good point there, that we probably...
I want to make something very clear. As far as, if the staff has an issue as far as the locations of those things, as far as where they're going to go, we will meet every single condition of the RFP, as it is right now, as it was awarded. We will meet every location condition, we will meet every 15-foot condition, every distance condition, everything that's in the RFP. We've already negotiated practically everything in the contract. We're ready to go. And this contract right now expires in 2 weeks. If you go back out for an RFP, that's a months-long process. So, you know, at the end of the beach season, well, of course, there's a hurricane coming, but to me, we're ready for a contract. This was the only minor issue that had to be resolved. Now, if the intent is to use this as a chance to go back and let people now rebid, now that they see what we're bidding, that doesn't seem fair to me. And so it's not a fair process. We're not asking for any change to the RFP. We will meet every single, we've talked about, you know, potential changes, but we will, I'm telling you right now, and these guys are right here with me, we will meet every criteria of the RFP, if that's your issue. If you don't want a golf cart as a concession vehicle, we will meet something that has a concession that meets the drivability. We'll meet every requirement. Had we had the chance to sit down with staff, I'm sure we could have resolved this, but we didn't. So what I'm asking for, I mean, the only time we sat down with staff, we thought we'd resolved everything. It was only afterwards we had these problems. Right now, all I'm telling you is we will meet the requirements for the RFP. We need to get a contract entered, and we need to start being able to work. All these families need to be able to work without this cloud hanging over their head. They're already in the process of buying new vehicles based on the fact that this contract was awarded. I mean, that's a terrible thing to do, to say, oh, we've changed our mind, and now we want to go back and do a new RFP because you're complying with the RFP. That's not fair. We will meet every condition of the RFP, where we will enter into the contract that the staff provides. We thought we had resolved everything. The only issue, like I say, was size of vehicles. So,
Ms. Post, I'm going to go to Dr. Lowry since he hasn't commented at all. So.
I just wanted to ask legal in regard to, you know, I think it's a pretty valid point that Councilman Dennis made in regard to smaller vehicles. I mean, that is, there's a safety factor there, running over people, kids and that sort of thing. What happens if we are thinking in the direction of allowing the golf carts rather than a major vehicle like a big truck? Where does that put us in regard to that situation?
The concession vehicles have to be parked on the beach before 9 a.m. every morning. They are not down there. They are down before the public gets down on the beach. So the issue of safety of them running over people is really not at issue here. They are required to be down there as soon as the Sea Turtle patrol has gone by and cleared. They are allowed down on the beach.
Okay, Ms. Post.
If we've put out an RFP and it's distressing to me that we've got an RFP out and it's apparently not clear enough that we're coming back with this issue, and I want to ensure that this does not happen again in additional RFPs with other people, because if we do an RFP, that's the agreement. That's what it should be agreed upon. And if there's a question as to the vehicle and as to what you're going to be doing, I think that needs to be hashed out at the beginning. What you're saying is a stationary concession vehicle that will not move throughout the day, correct? Even though it's a golf cart, it will not be moving around.
Well, you need to speak into the microphone, even though that comment that.
I say, again, you know, we will do exactly what the RFP says. It's a stationary vehicle that will not move during the day. We will meet the criteria. We can put that in the contract. That's not an issue. The issue we were trying to do was to bring up smaller vehicles. If you
Okay,
don't,
yeah,
and there's no prohibition against small
let me
vehicles.
get our legal
Yeah.
people. Dan, you had a comment.
May I ask, Mr. Storch, is this representative of what you want to do?
Which is what?
This is the picture on the...
No, the RFP provides for 20-foot spacing now between umbrellas.
That was what was provided by your client.
Yes. That's fine, but,
But
what I'm telling you is we're going to meet the RFP.
And in your view, does the RFP provide for any separation between the locations?
Of course it does.
And what is that separation?
20 feet.
No, not between the setups, between the locations.
Between the individual umbrellas, I think it's 20 feet. Is that correct?
Between the locations, they're
The
asking.
location of the concession stands.
Yeah.
What's the separation between the location of the concession stands?
Concession stands.
My name is John Green. I'm the president of the Volusia County Beach Rentals.
and also the manager, the beach agent, if you will. I'm responsible for personnel, equipment, and performance on the beach. And to my knowledge, the RFP does not state any distance that we have to have. My understanding was that we could place the 38 locations wherever we felt they were needed. And if I may just address this a little bit further.
Okay, we'll let you talk, and then Jamie, instead of sitting there saying yes, no.
I'm agreeing
just
with
wait.
him.
Okay. I don't know that the microphone picked up whether you were agreeing or shaking your head or not. So let's try to keep the dialogue with where we can interpret what you're saying. Thank you.
May I continue?
Sure.
I'll ask our business manager, Melanie Nordstrom, if she'll distribute a few charts for you.
No, we don't want any more charts.
Okay.
I already
All right,
had what
then
you
I
distributed.
will summarize then. I'd like to go back and pick up on what Ms. Seaman said about moving 17 stands in Daytona Beach and making them 19. My background is in research and statistics, and so I tend to fall back on research and statistics. So I researched, and the 17 stands in Daytona Beach were established in 1989 when the county took over the administration of the beaches from the municipalities. That was 1989. A lot of things have happened since 1989. We've got half the approaches are closed. We've got empty properties on the west side of the seawall. We've got 2 new hotels. We've got 1 traffic-free zone. We have seen a shift, and my research showed, we've gotten a shift in the Daytona Beach area. We have moved from 40% of the total business and the total equipment needed. Now 60% of our total business is done in that Daytona Beach area. Of that, then in that no drive zone, the core area, we do 40% of the total business on the entire beach. I'm sorry, that number in Daytona Beach was 60%. Now, further than that, this contract is a 5-year contract. During that period, we're going to see a Hard Rock, we're going to see a Breakers Hotel below the pier, and we're going to see a Proto Group.
I think we're getting way off on what we're trying to do.
I'm just saying,
Right,
we're
I
trying to
understand that.
plan for the future.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I
and
think we need to address the immediate issue which we're discussing, which is to either go out for a new RFP or not, and let's see if we can get through this part of it.
Oh.
And we understand the history from 1989 and the numbers and the percentages in the closed hotel. We understand that.
And let me
Sir.
answer the one question, which was, is there distance requirements between the sites?
And Jamie, what was the distance? Or Dan?
There is none.
Okay.
So they may consolidate them and move them close together.
But we have proposed a map showing the locations that we will incorporate into the contract.
However, your client just pointed out that he would like flexibility because new facilities will be open during the next 5 years.
I understand that, but you know what I'll do? At this point, we're trying to deal with the contract. My client, at that point, once the new things are open, we can come back and talk to you about potential amendments. For right now, we're meeting every criteria of the contract, and we're providing you a map that shows all the distances between the parties. And I think you don't have any problem with the distances that we're showing on the map.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Eckert.
Mr. Chair, I want to raise a point of order here because we have a motion on the floor that deals with the RFP, whether we're going to go out for a brand new bid or not. And I'd prefer it if we just stuck to that issue right now, and the issue should be between the council at this point. So I think anything, so let's just stick to the motion.
Can we call the vote on this, please?
I don't hear a second on the call to the question.
I'm not calling the question, I'm calling.
Oh, I thought I heard. Did you, Dr. Lowry?
I call question. Spoke.
Right, so. What I was asking, the motion is made, the motion is seconded, and I'm just asking her to do a roll call vote instead of all in favor saying aye and those not.
It's got to be a two-thirds vote on calling the question.
Please restate the question.
Well, I thought you wanted to stop the discussion.
And that has to be voted on, Mr. Chair.
Pardon?
To call a question, it has to be voted on.
I was not necessarily called, at any time we want to vote. You're not ready to vote? I thought he was ready to vote. That's why I was
just
trying to
thought
find
that-
out.
And that's the purpose, to call a question, if there's two-thirds. I think everybody has had an opportunity here to debate on it. If there's somebody here who hasn't had an opportunity to
You called for a
debate,
point of order.
a point of order that we should stick to the debate at hand, which is on whether or not we're going to go out for a
He
new
called a point of
RFP.
order to end the debate. Is there a second to ending the debate?
Second.
Second to ending debate. All in favor of ending the debate, say aye.
Aye.
That's, I heard two. Were you, did you say something, Pat?
Nope.
We had two. All against ending debate, say aye. Aye. I'm assuming that's 5. Is that correct?
So the question.
So the question's still out there to discuss this issue, and I thought that you were trying to get through it. My apologies to you, sir, I wasn't ready to quit talking either.
Well, and
Because
and
I
I
haven't
wasn't,
had-
my point of order was that we're getting way off the subject here of whether or not we were going to go for a new RFP. We're out in the weeds now on other things, and we have somebody standing here wanting to talk to something that has nothing to do with the RFP.
Well, and that's why I've got 5 people still wanting to talk to this issue, and I thought you were trying to cut it off. And that's what I was trying to
What
accommodate
I'm
you, sir.
trying to do is keep us on the point, which is, do they want to go?
We got way off of the point a long time
Hey,
ago.
Mr. Chair,
but,
let me explain. The point that I'm trying to make is, do the members here want to go out for a new bid
Right.
or not? That's what's in there. All this other stuff is contrary to what we're talking about here, whether or not that is all I want. Do the members here want to go out for a new bid or not? That's all.
Okay, well then,
I have a motion and it has been seconded,
Right.
so let's stick to that.
Ms. Cusack.
Well, if there is, on the motion that we have on the floor, if there is still members of the council that are not clear on their position as to whether or not they want to go out for a new bid, I think that to continue the discussion is appropriate and in order, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ms. Denny's.
Thank you. Balancing all this, frustrating as it is here, this is kind of self-inflicted on both sides. It's not the vendor's fault if the RFP was too vague. It's not their fault. They bid on what was put out there. We can't fault them for that. So, and then the other piece to it, the self-infliction on the other side, was the term satellite or unmanned in golf cart. That's self-inflicted. So, on both sides of this issue, and here we sit, council, going back and forth, which should have been an easy contract to negotiate with the details. And it's frustrating at best to try to now have us as council navigate through a legal issue, and we hear that it was too vague and possibly RFP. I also think that it's not fair that we put this vendor out, that we do another RFP if they've invested in capital according to our vague requirements. I don't think that's good government. Agree or disagree, it just isn't. So with that, if we can come to an agreement on the original RFP, take away unmanned, take away satellite, get rid of your golf carts, keep them concessions, keep them exactly, and council, even if we don't like what you're looking at here, this is what we said was acceptable in the RFP process. We cannot now come through the back door and say, oh gee, I don't like what that looks like. We should have handled that from day one. So with that, the other motion died, I guess. Did the motion die?
No, the motion's still on the floor, and that's what we should be speaking to.
If we've got a motion on the floor, then, well, that's basically what I'm speaking to, because I'm not going to support another RFP.
Okay.
I'm just not.
Ms. Post?
Well, I was pretty much
That's
going
it.
to say what you.
What she said?
In good faith, we accepted the proposal. And the fact that it's too vague or misunderstood is not appropriate, I think. It's
Okay.
not, and
I'm
it's
trying to
certainly
get through
not.
these lists so we can get to a point of voting, so, Ms. Wheeler.
So may I finish then?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I would say that in good faith, we accepted the proposal, so I'm not in favor of just going and putting out another RFP.
Because eventually somebody will be able to count to 4, I think. So, Ms. Wheeler.
Okay, I'm also not in favor, and the reason being is I feel that this is, everything else has, under negotiations, have been worked on. This is a matter of terminology that I think needs to be dealt with. To throw this whole RFP out and go back out for bid, I am totally opposed to it. We need to resolve this small issue. I think it's minor. I think I'm hearing that they'll do anything to conform with it. That's negotiations. And so I am totally opposed to going out for a new RFP.
Okay, I think I can count to 4 now. Do we need, Jamie, do you and Dan need to speak?
If I may, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think if it's the pleasure of the council for us to negotiate, then I don't think the council is required, and I think this would be, if we leave here today, I think Mr. Storch, on behalf of his client, would say it's entirely within, please let me finish, Mr. Storch. It's entirely within his discretion, for the client's discretion, to move about these locations as you see fit. That's what I think that the proposal says. That was not, I don't think that there was a meeting of the mind in that point. If it's your pleasure that we negotiate, then I think you have to authorize the staff to come back with a proposal that will not impinge upon the access to the beach. What you see here, which is their proposal in which they agree, basically reserves the beach, much of which is publicly owned in the core area, for more than a half mile. And with respect, if you look at the pictures of privatized beaches around the state, including near where I grew up, you can see it on TV every morning. You can see that the umbrellas are intended to convey a sense that this is private. Now, are we going to allow them to, would they want to stack some so that they could be handy? If it's your pleasure that we leave here today and negotiate this, then I think your staff needs a direction that the proposal is something that you would feel comfortable approving to preserve the public access to the beach, because Mr. Storch is going to say, as he said multiple times today, this meets the RFP, but maybe so from his perspective. But you're the stewards of the public access, and you're not required to approve something that surrenders access by contract that you wouldn't approve if you were the regulator of the beaches in front of the hotels. I mean, and you would take the position that was subject to your continuing regulation. Now, I don't know exactly what equipment's been bought. We're talking about umbrellas. And if they bought golf carts in Reliance, I don't think that they could say that. They could have bought golf umbrellas. They obviously have not bought larger concession vehicles, at least not in the numbers that we're speaking about. So perhaps there has not been the ultimate clarity, but you're not required, nor should you, respectfully, accept an outcome that you don't think provides the public access to the beach.
Okay. I think, Ms. Cusack, right now we're talking about whether or not we go forward and put a new RFP out, so we'll limit the discussion to that. I'll try to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am a strong supporter of access to the beach. You see, when I look at this picture here, it certainly limits access. I don't want to put a vendor out when we have allowed this to be. But if we're going to be talking about having met our commitment to a vendor and keeping our commitment to the people that we serve as elected officials, we have to meet in the middle on this. We have to make sure that we protect everybody, that they have access to this beach. And this, ladies and gentlemen, does not give me the assurance that it provides an opportunity for everyone to have access to this beach. So, whereas I'm not strongly in favor of going out, I'm very strongly in favor of access to the beach for all citizens. And so we're in a place between a rock and a hard place here. But we must do what is right. I don't ever want anyone to tell me, or by omission or commission, that I cannot go to the beach where I want to go. And so this tells me I can't go anywhere I want to go.
Okay. Ms. Post.
So let me just say that if access to the beach is now the discussion.
No, it's not.
And I knew you were going to do that, so just hold
I'm
on
just
one
trying
second,
to
Ed.
allow-
Hold on.
I'm
So
ready to vote.
if access to the beach is the discussion, I want it on the record that I'm highly disappointed on our side, from the county standpoint, that this was not addressed in the original RFP, and it wasn't, whatever you want to call it, wasn't definitive enough, it wasn't, that none of this was addressed appropriately to now that we're in this position.
Okay. Is there anything else, or can I ask for a vote? I can ask for a vote. Please call the vote. The question is to go out for a new RFP. And we had a motion and a second, and we've had enough discussion. So I'll just call it. All in favor of the motion, say aye. I heard one. All opposed to going out for RFP, say aye.
Aye.
I heard 6. The motion dies 6-1. So now we can get back to where we are, and your pleasure is to either try to go back and renegotiate with something. I don't like an RFP that necessarily has to go back to be renegotiated. I think everything, when an RFP is done, you dot your I, you cross your T's. That's what the RFP is for. If it was a flexibility in that to where you're renegotiating, then you've put at a disservice those who may have wanted to bid, knowing that, oh, I'll change it and renegotiate after the fact. So that's the one part, and I don't think any of us would disagree that that's true. Mr. Patterson?
No, I want to. Sorry, I'm just wanted to speak after you finish, that's all.
Go ahead.
If you finish.
I'll stop.
Then I think it's up to this council sitting here to identify exactly what we expect to see when it comes back here. Do we want to see golf carts, or do we want to, do we want to see this line of umbrellas up there where people don't have the access to the beach? So there needs to be something from the council directing staff, and that's the way it's going to be. That's exactly what's going to be, not, because I don't want to do this again.
No. To me, I think what the part of the case was is we allowed for the locations to be, and we tried, in our very, very best, we tried to give the public access. And I think that by not having I thought there was a place where the locations had to be. And you're saying now that from Zelda to Silver Beach, they can have 17 or 19.
17.
But they wanted 19.
They asked for it in their second negotiation
Yeah,
proposal.
that's not, as long as, what we have to do, I think we have to either try to work within the definitions and the requirements of the RFP. And any significant deviation from what the RFP states is not fair. Right. I think everybody agrees. So if you try to make a significant deviation from what the RFP calls for, I'm personally okay if you want to call a golf cart. What got me really concerned was that they wanted to call them originally unmanned, which meant they wanted to put up a half a mile of umbrellas and nobody there to take the umbrellas down or let people sit. And then they came back and called it a satellite with a golf cart, which is intent about the same purpose. And I was understanding that maybe a golf cart may be there and it may not be there. Now they're going to put 17 golf carts in this location. I just don't think it's fair to the public to have access for this. And we're doing a 5-year contract with the situations the way they are. Had I known it was going to be this much of a discussion, over $360,000 worth of revenue and everything that people are having to do, that's when I would have said, and this is what I told you, Glenn, I was going to say, and that is, just let the hotels, if they want to contract with somebody to put up some umbrellas in front of their hotel, but then you're depriving the public, and that's what we're trying to get away from. But we have to have vendors who will work with us to not try to create that scenario of a private beach. I think that's what we need to try to achieve. We don't want to give the appearance of a private beach. If it means putting up signs that you're free to ask us to move this, I'm just throwing that out there. That's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, people need to be aware that they can put their umbrella right between two of yours.
Absolutely.
or two of theirs.
And I think I have the direction of the council. I mean, the only question, like I say, was, to me, was whether we could use golf carts as opposed to larger vehicles. But I will tell you, I also understand the desire of the council as far as making sure that everyone understands this is public beach, this is not reserved area. I've just talked to my clients. We will put a sign on every single beach concession that says we will gladly move a chair for you if you'd prefer to if it's reserved and you'd like to sit there. Not a problem. We'll put that so even though somebody will come up to you saying gladly move it, I think is a good thing. And as far as everything else, we will be glad to work with the staff to try and resolve the issue of the size of the vehicles. If you want to suggest the idea that some of these can be stationary, manned golf carts, that's fine. But I understand Jamie's concern that this has to be a vehicle that can be used on the road. So
Well,
I have no problem with that.
Okay, Council, do you want to try to negotiate this on the fly now, or would you prefer to send it back to staff?
Send it back to
Pardon?
staff, I'm done.
Pardon? Send it back?
Mr. Chair, I do have one issue. 9 concessions in a 1-mile stretch that is shown in your second proposal means they will be slightly under 600 feet apart. I need a separation. I need a separation. 600 feet is not that far, and then when you have 300 feet of that being where the umbrellas are going to be set up, they're only going to be 300 feet apart. They are proposing to put 9 of these concessions in the 1 mile drive-free beach, whether they're called satellite.
Were they allowed to do that or not?
There was no separation in the
No, the number of
But if it's
locations.
not in
the
there,
bid
then
document.
that's what
I
we-
understand that. But then we're going to be right back here because 9 into 5,280 feet is 586
Half a mile,
feet
I know.
apart. Then you're going to end up with
A
the
private beach.
concessionaires setting up umbrellas across 300 feet of that 600 feet of separation, and you're going to end up with the picture you just told me is unacceptable.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Just the question that I have, and I think the council has, is, was that spelled out in the RFP, or is it in compliance with the RFP? That's the question I have. I don't like it. I didn't like them having 15 empty umbrellas out there. Before, they were putting out as many as they wanted.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think what we have is an interpretation. Here's what you got. First of all, you have a good vendor.
But what we have is whether the council wants to send it back to negotiate, and it's something that
Well,
is
I'm gonna
compliant.
suggest that. If you'll, see, we did not have that authority under the RFP. So sometimes this was a complicated RFP. You have a good vendor we've always had good luck with. There is a difference of opinion, and it's a way they interpret something versus what we think, and it's how it's coming out that doesn't work. If you are gonna give us now the authority, because we did not have this authority, if you give us the authority to say, look, we know we don't want this appearance of a private beach. They want to do business. Can we find something that solves both? And you give us the authority to negotiate that. I think they heard you. I will try to come back with something that meets both criteria.
As long as the person 3 down from you tells us that that's legal, I'm okay. Dan?
Yes, sir. I think that's what we would ask, and I think it's within the scope of the request for proposals.
Okay.
The concern here, again, and the difference between the issue, let me just say that you said if we're talking about access, we've always been talking about access. The vehicle issue is that, and the intention of the vendor here is not is so that one person or one or a few people can tend these all these locations on his or her own, versus when they're spread out, it probably requires more labor. But more labor is an issue. Whether or not it ends up being required is an issue for access. We need the council's direction, which I think the manager has just asked, for us to assure that the product that is brought back to you is something that you would approve as consistent with the RFP, fair to the vendor, but providing public access.
Now, I don't know that anyone up here, and if they did, I will stand corrected, envisioned having a concession situation with nobody there.
Right.
If that was an assumption on my part, it's a bad assumption, but I don't know anywhere that we would allow a person to just set something up and not be there.
Mr. Chair, I think if you allowed us to try this, I'm convinced that Mr. Storch and Mr. Green, who has done a wonderful job for us in the past, is a reasonable person. I think they got a clear message from you that what they saw is not what we wanted. It's an interpretation. If you allow us to negotiate, we'll come up with something.
May I make a motion?
Sure, Mr. Patterson.
I make a motion that we direct staff to negotiate with the vendor and staff to come back with a proposal.
I'll second that.
Motion is made, seconded by Mr. Lowry. Any objection to the motion? Thank you. Hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimous. Thank you for your time, and I assure you, if you come back with something, we will not spend 2.5 hours doing it.
Hopefully, we'll be coming back with a contract.
We will, Mr. Chair, if necessary, because this is too big an issue.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way.
All right, let's be very clear.
I mean, what I meant was, it better not have this much questions that we had to address when it comes back to us.
And again,
Does that
That's
make
right.
it clear?
Absolutely, that's clear.
And
Thank
Mr.
you, sir.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, hopefully this will be a contract.
Pardon?
Hopefully, we'll be coming back with a contract.
And hopefully there'll be a beach left to have something on. So
That's right. That's more important.
Anyway, Thank you very much. Mr. Deneen, you're still up, but I'm going to
No,
pull
I'm
you
done.
off.
That was from before.
This one's going to be easy, I think. Item 8, appointment to the Personnel Board. Any member can make a motion. I think there are 2 on there. I know one that's on the top list of that. I would make, but I can't make it, so
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Cusack.
I would like to nominate for that board, Mr. Frank Bruno.
Motion made for Mr. Frank Bruno. Is there a second? Motion is made and seconded. All right. I knew that I didn't have to, but I thought if I made it and I had to say I didn't, I was safer that way. Motion's been made for Mr. Frank Bruno. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes.
Pick a better guy.
Ms. Post. Ms. Cusack, you didn't have it on again, did you? Okay. You're off.
Wanting to make a motion to.
Oh,
to
okay.
appoint one.
That's gone.
Yeah.
We will now move to another one which may be easy, which is number 9. And that is the appointment to the Halifax Area Advertising Board. And I think District 2 and 3, and there is a candidate for 2. I'm not sure about 3.
It doesn't need to be in the district, it just needs to
Oh, that
be
person.
either lodging or tourism.
Okay, District 2, that would be you, Ms. Wheeler.
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate Kevin Hines.
Kevin Hines has been nominated to the HAAA Board.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
have a
Ms. Cusack.
question.
Sure.
It says that we already have 7 members that are in the lodging industry.
We've lost 2.
Well, that,
The chair,
it's not noted here that we have lost.
right here, Michael Cardos and Joyce Board are both.
I didn't think that was correct, but it may be.
There's
I would
2
just
people.
need some clarification from staff that
Miss-
there's not.
Marcy would have that because I think we covered that when we initially did those, that they were spread out.
The language is not less than 6, which means they
Correct.
can all be.
So they all can be.
Yeah, it just means not less than 6.
So there can be 7,
So it can
Or
be.
9, or 10.
or 8, or 10. Okay,
So they all can be from lodges.
okay. Thanks.
What says 11?
My
Okay.
brain got dumbed down on that last one.
So I've done.
Okay, you made the motion. Any objection to the nomination? Hearing none, the motion stands. We'll now move, I guess there was
There's a
2.
District 3 nomination now.
District 3.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm going to nominate Linda Bowers for the HA Board.
Linda Bowers has been nominated. Any objections to Linda Bowers serving on the HAB board? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimous.
Do we want to recognize them at their hair?
Pardon?
Do we want to recognize them at their hair? Mr. Hines is
Are
here.
they out there waiting?
Well, just.
You are recognized. I didn't know you. My apologies that I didn't know you. I recognize you. You're now recognized as the newest member of the Halifax Area Advertising Board, and thank you for being willing to serve. And it's a lot of work, and we depend upon you a lot to do that. So thank you. And
You knew about this, right?
yes, I told him I couldn't make it. We will now move to item number 10. And this is for District 4 and 5 positions, and it doesn't appear to have any applicants unless you've got them hidden. There they are,
For-
District 4.
We do, yes. Mhm.
Ms. Post.
So I would like to, hold on. Yeah, I would like to make a motion to appoint Richard Lohman
To nominate,
or to nominate to the Children and Families Advisory Board.
who did you say here? Lohman, okay, sorry. Richard Lohman has been nominated. Any objections to his nomination? Motion passes unanimous without objection. And now we'll move to item 11, which is for the Tourist TDC Board.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
may I make a motion
Sure.
on item 11? I'd like to nominate Jim Berkeley to the Tourist Development Council.
Jim Berkeley has been nominated for the TDC. Any objections to his nomination? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, and that moves us on, I think, to item 4.
Mr. Chair, can we have a 10-minute recess?
We can. I'm glad you said that. Recess for 10 minutes. Oh, that's how I get your attention, Marcy. I wondered what that was up there for. We'll reconvene the county council meeting at 12:07, and we'll go to item 4. And Terry Sanders. Terry, are you here? No, I don't see you. But maybe we'll go with Jim. Judge.
Ed, I wanted, I spoke to you about just saying something in reference to the meeting and the hurricane.
Let's finish this one. Can we do, because this is the last one of the agenda.
Okay.
This is it.
Good morning, Chairman Kelly, members of the council. Jim Judge, Emergency Management Division, here before you to demonstrate our brand-new app. Back on March the 16th of 2017, the council approved emergency management to move forward in the development of an emergency management app. Since then, we've pulled together a robust team of county employees, including Chris Dubinsky, Larry LeHue, Tom Cisco. We've had Shelley and Joanne involved, and of course, Al Hill. Al's our technical expert and has done an incredible job seeing this app along. And with your permission, I'd like to bring Mr. Al Hill up here to provide the overview of the app.
Good afternoon. Al Hill, Information Technology. Can we switch the feed? So the Emergency Management mobile app is a communication tool for emergency management staff to be able to present information to our citizenry. On its front page, it has a Facebook feed. It has the ability to be updated at a moment's notice. It comes with the ability to see all of the county's emergency management contact information, access our social media feeds, and you have the ability to submit a damage report through this. If you have location services turned on, that will go to emergency management's email, the ESF-19 email, as well as any others that are designated. If, again, you have location services turned on and you take a picture of the damage, we can then take that photo and place it on a map to identify areas of concern. The gear in the upper right provides access to the app instructions, how to use all the various pieces and parts. It also has the Volusia County disclaimer and privacy policy there. The map button on the bottom takes you to an interactive map showing shelter locations and shelter types. You also have the ability I can point at the right thing. You also have the ability to see sandbag distribution locations, evacuation routes, and after an event, points of distribution locations. Any of these layers can be turned on or off to make life a little easier for you. It also has the ability to see a live weather feed. That's the cloud icon on the bottom that gets the National Weather Radar weather feed. Most importantly, I think, is the ability for users of this app to build a plan. You can go to the plan section and put in your own information that you would need after an event, personal information, your own phone numbers, your contact information, medical and insurance contact information, a list of out-of-town contacts that you might want to notify, and any other important numbers that you want to put in here. Also, there is a checklist component to this that gives you the ability to actually build your plan. And if you're not quite sure what some of these represent, if you point at one of them, you get a fuller list of the things that that component is supposed to present to you. There we go, back. So you can build this plan and then you can share it with your other family members if you want to. It also comes with a preparedness section. Again, this is completely customizable. When it's available in the App Store or the Google Play Store, it will be Volusia County FLEM.
So it's not available now?
It will be a couple of hours after you tell us it's okay to put it there.
Okay, okay. I think
Okay, well, what is it? What's the?
Volusia County FLEM. If you just put Volusia County in the search, you'll find it along with the other apps that are available, the health app, for instance, the beach app, the Volusia Parks and Trails app, etc.
Phlegm?
So there's also, connection is terrible. There's also the ability to have a section that's during the disaster. Let's go home. It's terrible when you have a demo and it doesn't work. And I'm not quite sure why it's not. I have no control over this iPad. There is also a section here during a disaster that gives you the ability to send a text message to anyone you designate as to you're okay and where you are. It will sense, again, if you have location services turned on, it will sense where you are. I'm going to start it again. It will sense where you are in relationship to addresses and be able to provide that address or latitude and longitude. We'll start it back up again here. So the during a disaster portion gives you the ability to send a text message, which will work oftentimes when normal cell service will not, so that you can tell your loved ones that you're okay. You also have the ability to send a damage report here as well. I was told to keep it brief. That's pretty much it. They've got the small set of controls across the bottom, which does include National Weather Alert if you have alert services turned on your smart device. It also has the ability to link to our public information officers' news feeds through here so that they can publish their information here as well. This is very customizable. It's driven by local access, emergency management staff's access to the information. The map information is dynamic. It's reading our data live. So when we do go live with this, we can post up-to-date information to the public. And you can get weather here as well, if you want to, both local weather and Volusia County specific weather. So if I go home, I can get my local Seminole County weather as opposed to the weather here. So are there any questions? Sir.
Mr. Patterson. Probably, I'm only part of a geek as most. On a lot of apps that I have, I'm getting a message about something about this app may not be compatible with iOS 11. Is this a particular issue that could happen with this?
No, it should not. It should work with all of your modern iOS devices or Android devices
Okay,
as well.
so I guess they're going to be upgrading to a whole new iOS system then.
This will still be compatible
It'll
according
still
to
be,
the contract.
okay.
Thank you. It's
Looks good.
very comprehensive. Now we'll go to item 4A.
Yes.
Don't we need to approve this?
All you have to, what
I
we're
guess we
looking for
do.
is the direction to say, go ahead and implement.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to direct staff to go ahead with the Volusia County FLEM. Is that what it is? Okay.
Motion second by Ms. Cusack. It's a good thing you did that because it wouldn't be out there in 2 hours, would it?
Yeah.
Motion is made and seconded. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have Jim Judge here. We'll give you a little update on what's going on. We're going to give you an update as to where we go from here in terms of the storm. Things do not look good, and we have to take this very seriously. I'll have Jim walk you through a number of things, and then, Mr. Chair, I'm going to have some actions that I need the council to approve, and then we also have some legislation that the council needs to review and approve so that we can move forward in the next couple of days.
Okay,
Jimbo?
All right, if I could, welcome again, everyone. Jim Judge, Emergency Management Director, going to give you a little bit of update on Hurricane Irma. Sue, can I get that first slide? All right, well, as we can see, it's quite a large storm. As I understand it, it's probably one of the top storms of all time. I think there's only one hurricane that's been stronger, and only by 5 miles an hour. So it is a very strong Category 5. It's got winds of over 180 miles an hour and even gusting as much as 220 to 225 miles an hour. So it's certainly a significant hurricane event. Next slide, Sue. All right, and of course, there's always a tendency to kind of focus on the straight line that we'll show in a minute. But of course, we are well within that cone of uncertainty, as is all of Florida almost. Right now, it is forecast to come up basically around the Keys into Miami-Dade area, where it then is proposed to go right along the state of Florida, right along the coast. Sue, can I get the next one? And of course, the spaghetti models are still in somewhat disagreement on the exact track of the storm. The best track that we have right now is right along the Florida coastline, with the eye wall staying offshore, but giving us strong Category 3 winds, as much as 120 to 125 miles an hour. And I just spoke with Mr. Simpson earlier, Mr. Cisco earlier, and the briefing that is taking place right now, the models are still similar to what right now is what they were this morning when we received this at about 5 a.m. So the models are somewhat in disagreement. We can continue to hope for an easterly shift, and of course the models have shifted over time. Just a few days ago, it actually had the storm coming into the Gulf and then making a right turn coming in over Florida and basically exiting over Volusia County. Of course, that has changed significantly, so we continue to monitor the forecast. The next one will be at 5:15 and 5:45 this evening with the National Weather Service. But again, we are anticipating 120 to 125 mile winds as it stands right now over Volusia County. And we could have those winds in the county for approximately 6 hours. So it is going to be a significant event for the county. The good news is that there's a lot of preparedness taking place out there. So a lot of work being done throughout the community. I believe our citizens are taking every opportunity to get prepared, as I certainly see the lines at the gas stations where people are filling up, and the shelves are clearing off in Lowe's, Home Depot, and many of the other stores as people get ready for this hurricane. I have some other items to run through and take any questions at this point.
What time are you thinking?
Right now, we're looking at tropical storm force winds coming into Volusia County around midnight Saturday night, and then conditions deteriorating with hurricane force winds early Sunday through Sunday, and probably we will not be out of the tropical storm force winds until sometime midday Monday is where it stands now. Of course, we're looking at the forward speed. Right now, the forward speed of the storm is about 17 miles an hour, but we do anticipate it's going to slow down to about 14, 15 miles an hour. We're not quite sure yet on storm surge. And even the National Weather Service said they may not have this nailed down as far as the track goes till Saturday. So we continue to watch, we continue to wait, and we continue to prepare. We're still looking at rainfall as much as between 8 and 10 inches of rain over Volusia County, and of course it could be higher in some areas. And again, that's based on the best information we have right now.
Mr. Chair, these days and times that you just gave out, I couldn't write them down fast enough. 'Cause
Okay.
I've got a lot of people asking me what's the status right now, so I'd like to be able to give them exactly what you just said.
Right now, yes, sir.
But only at 20 miles an hour speed.
Right.
for you.
We are looking at tropical storm force winds impacting Volusia County at midnight Saturday night, and then conditions continuing to deteriorate on Sunday into early Sunday morning. We can anticipate hurricane force winds around 9, 10 o'clock or so on Sunday, continuing through the day on Sunday.
AM, yeah.
And then again, we anticipate the conditions may still be bad on Monday into the noon hour, but until the tropical storm force winds leave us. And if you go back to Matthew, we were hunkered down on Thursday night, and it was really on Friday night that we had the worst of the conditions. By late Saturday night, in the early hours of Saturday morning rather, we were able to then get out early Saturday morning. So we're anticipating about 6 hours of hurricane force winds, and we're anticipating approximately 18 hours of tropical storm force winds. So it's not going to be a short event. It's going to be quite a long period of time that we have to wait and watch until we can finally get out when the winds die down. All right, protective action so far.
May
The
I-
citizen.
May I interject here?
Sure, I'm not watching,
Yeah. Since we're talking about the hurricane, I would like to make a suggestion. We're talking about the intensity of this hurricane and the magnitude of this hurricane and how Volusia County really needs to take it seriously. This evening at 6 o'clock, we have our budget hearing. And the governor has declared a state of emergency for the state of Florida. Department of Revenue has issued their emergency order changing or allowing suspension for the timing requirements of different meetings and things and public notice. I think that public meetings, the entire reason for a public meeting is to allow the public the opportunity to come and hear what we need to say. And I think that having a public meeting tonight at 6 o'clock on the eve of potential hurricane, when everybody's worried about preparing and everything else, is not doing right by the citizens. And I would suggest that we discuss that and possibly discuss postponing tonight's meeting.
Let's get through this. He's just got a few more minutes to finish what he's doing on the hurricane. And then you want to bring that up when this one's finished.
Because you've got to rush and get started on
Yes.
hurricane prep, don't you?
He has to get back to
Mine
you.
is in relationship to this, my question.
Sure.
Okay.
Do we need to, last time we had a evacuation situation, do we need to go ahead and do that? Have it in our pocket?
That's all going to be part of my comments. as
Okay,
Jim
all right,
finishes
okay, all right. That's what I was going to suggest.
up.
Okay,
You
thank you.
remember, we've got some things we've got to take care of.
Yes, sir. What I wanted to do is just kind of give a quick brief out on protective actions we've taken so far. We've already started, again, conference calls over the last few days with the National Hurricane Center, with the State of Florida Emergency Management Office, and more importantly for us, the National Weather Service out of Melbourne, because it's Melbourne that's going to give us those specific information for Volusia County. We had a conference call yesterday with the county and the municipalities, very productive call. Our Citizen Information Center lines are up and running, have been up and running for a couple of days, and they continue to handle a great deal of phone calls coming in. Social media, Shelley, Joanne have been doing an incredible job already putting out a lot of information and informing the public on protective actions to take. We will be at a level 1 full activation on Friday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m., bringing everybody in, getting ready. And then on Saturday, we're proposing to bring everybody in again at 8 a.m., and then we will go to the duration of the event and including the recovery aspects afterwards. So we've been keeping our community partners updated on everything that's going on and conference calls with them as well. We do have a managers advisory meeting coming up on Friday, and we will continue with those municipal conference calls as well as conference calls with our municipal partners and EM partners around the county. We have sandbag information that's being sent out. Schools will be closed on Friday and Monday. And of course, Mr. Deneen's going to talk about some of the shelters that are getting ready to be announced. We're all set to go for that. We've been working closely with corrections. We do have a truckload of water that will be here before the storm, so we have a great deal of water to hand out, especially in the Pearson-Seville area, down in the Oak Hill area, a lot of folks on wells. So we want to make sure we can get water to them immediately and even pre-storm if we can get out there in the meantime.
Thanks, Jim. A couple of points I need to make, and then I need you to do a few things. One, bad news is this. I can't believe we're doing this again. I mean, this is hard to believe. Almost exactly a year. This storm is every bit as bad, if not worse, than the storm we had before, and that did a lot of damage. Now, that's the bad news. Good news is, last year, I think, from the standpoint of being prepared, we built the EOC and the combination building with the thoughts that we would never use it, we hoped. Now, unfortunately, we are using it too much. We did well last year. The community took us serious. If you remember, we housed 4,000 people in our shelters, and we really, we had few people that died. We want to make sure that message gets out again, that everybody needs to take it serious like they did last time. Couple things that you do need to know is he mentioned I'm going to have my MAG meeting on on Friday morning. We'll bring everybody together. We'll have a better idea. We use the liaison process to make sure you're all kept up to date. So you can, because in addition to the whole customer information system that we use where people call in and we answer with a live body, you're 7 people that'll get inundated. Everybody wants to know because they figure you know and you're going to know. So you'll be part of that team to help us answer people and let us know if you're having issues. We'll have there's a liaison system at work, but if you really need to get hold of me at any time, you can call me because I always have my phone on. Unfortunately, last time we even lost cell service and we lost internet too last time too for a while. Couple things that we are doing in addition to everything else he mentioned was working with Votran to make sure that all works to move people. The shelters, working with the schools, we'll have 21 again, Jim? 21 shelters, and they range from regular shelters to ones that are special needs. There's 5 special needs, and we also they're pet friendly, the special needs one, together with some of the regular shelters. We also are working on trying to see, in terms of special needs, whether we can accommodate some of the really, really serious people we have. We're still working on that. I do want to mention that our airport on Saturday night, if the weather holds the way we think, the last flight out will be the close of the airport. We keep skeleton crew there. It is not a shelter location, so no one can be there to be sheltered. We'll keep a skeleton crew. We mainly keep that there, keep an eye on the place, and also in case of emergency for military or any kind of anything that we would need military-wise or police-related-wise that could relate to aircraft. We have that place open. Another thing that we have been doing, I mean, all this stuff's behind the scenes. This is all part of what we really do, is doing a thorough inspection of all the canals and ditches and trying to make sure that stuff's open and ready. And our own people checking our own buildings for all of our drains and everything. All that stuff matters. We also this time actually have 2 shelters for our own employees. That became a real issue because a lot of times our employees are trying to take care of us and they have to take care of their own needs. And a lot of times if they're sheltered under shelter we have, it's easier for them to communicate with each other, especially if they have kids in that. So we're dealing with that. We don't have the facilities I would like to have someday in Public Works, but we'll do the best we can to secure all of our equipment. Our first line of defense is our Public Works equipment, and that's the most important thing. Without that, you don't get anywhere. That's what opens up the roads. We're going to try and take care of that. The problem that we're going to have this year is people really have to be patient, and as you know, we're going to run into this issue if we get a lot of down trees about picking them up. And I can tell you right now that FEMA, which I'm concerned about getting paid to begin with, especially on private roads, has already made it clear that ain't going to happen again. The other thing is that our resources, I want to make this really clear, our resources are stretched thinner this year than they were last year. One, we're already into a debt, so to speak, lien against our general fund and MSD in terms of the money we borrowed basically off ourselves to pay for the cleanups and that needs to be repaid by FEMA, which we haven't seen $1. Number 2, and the bigger thing, is that in essence to help, a lot of your resources got drained off to Texas, and also some went south because of this storm. So we don't have, in terms of the power company, as many people as we had. We still have probably total, 3,100 overall. We had 4,600 people that we stage out of the Speedway, together with we bunk the people in our Ocean Center. Look, we did last year, and we could feed them. We take care of everybody. That made all the difference last year. Was we probably had the fastest turnaround on putting power on we've ever had in a storm. At this time, what they're telling me is if the winds start getting up into Category 3, it ain't going to be replacing wires. It's going to be replacing infrastructure, and it's going to take a lot longer. People need to be ready. We also are going to have some issues, I believe, in picking up the material because while we have good contracts in place, a lot of that stuff, because they're not working here now, move physically in some cases to Texas, and getting that stuff back. And I hate to say this, but we're yesterday's news. We're yesterday's storm, and right now you got today's storm, which is Harvey, and now everybody's focused on Miami.
Wait, Harvey who?
Yeah, exactly. And so these are really big deals that we're working on. I will tell you, and I want to tell the public this, Do I think we are absolutely as prepared as we need to be? I do, for what we have, for the resources we have. And I think, and I mean that together with the cities. I think we have our act together. But it's still going to be a tough road to hoe. And I think people need to really take this serious. Now, let's talk about evacuations. I've talked to the chair about this. We are recommending, I want to make it real clear, that we're recommending we're recommending that people voluntarily evacuate now. The roads are getting clogged. This is worse because all the roads are getting clogged together with, there's issues about getting out. You have time now. There's fuel yet. Go. We are planning on doing our order or our emergency mandate of evacuation. When we say that when you're mandated, okay, or ordered, what we mean is we're not going to come down there and force you out of your home. But let's make this real clear. The chair and I talked about this, and I think everybody needs to say this. What we're telling you is we're mandating you leave because it's unsafe, because we will not be able to come and get you or help you during the storm and for a while after the storm. So it won't matter. The other thing is a lot of people don't realize is they think, well, if something happens to me, I'll just call. And if it ain't you, I'll call somebody else. You may not be able to call anybody. Also, the bridges that go over to the barrier island, I've talked to the sheriff. He and I talked last evening, and I'm going to ask you to pass some legislation that approves this ahead of time in terms of evacuations, curfews, things like that. We're not going to implement that until it's needed, but what we've done in the past, and I'm sure the sheriff here, he agreed, is that when it comes to curfew, we'll give them the opportunity, and when the need comes, that he believes the need's there, then we can implement that, which probably be more like right before, during, and after the storm. The case of the bridges, once again, the sheriff will coordinate with the cities on blocking off the bridges. Usually that's at 39 miles an hour. That's also when we start bringing everybody in. Yeah, the other thing, oh, by the way, I'm going to need the council to approve this, but as of the close of business today, we are going to block off our beach approaches, and the beaches are open, but no cars will be allowed on the beach. We have to remove all our equipment and get ready. So I'm going to need that. I'm also going to recommend that we close our offices on Friday, okay? And now what I see coming on Monday. We have a system in place on how we deal with people in terms of what we compensate people in terms of who gets that day. We have that all worked out, so that would work. But I think both days we need to just say, you need to take care of your family. Now, there are a lot of those people that have to work for us, and then we give them those days later, okay? What else?
Jim?
Yeah.
Just clarify something. You said recommending evacuations. Are you talking just beachside, or are you talking the whole county?
We're talking for sure all beachside.
Okay.
Any low areas, any areas susceptible to flooding, anyone that has a home or a dwelling that they know is not substantially built that'll handle a hurricane or hurricane winds, all those people for sure. And then anybody else, quite frankly, in this whole county, it'd probably be wise if you have the opportunity to go someplace else, you might want to consider it. If you don't consider going someplace else,
that we didn't have last time.
That's
so
exactly.
You've got 5 or 6 million people.
Yes.
That are subject to evacuating, and somebody told me last night 95 was almost like a parking lot.
That's going to be part of your problem.
Yeah, my wife is in Darlington, South Carolina, Florence, South Carolina, at a hotel. She's having a family meeting up there, and it's full of people.
Yeah.
That's how far north they've gone up there to North Carolina.
So what we're saying is that if you don't have a place to evacuate to, for sure you have to get out of the beach side and off these other areas. But if you don't have a place to go to, on mobile homes and that, then you definitely need to get prepared. And there's a whole list of things to get prepared on. Don't wait till the day before to check your generator. Make sure your stuff in your yard right now is all the loose stuff's all picked up. The loose stuff's what's dangerous. Blow through your window. And then things like lawn furniture and stuff like that, make sure you're getting it in by Friday and Saturday. There's a whole list of things like that. The other thing we're going to talk about too is in terms of being safe. We had 5 people die last year. 2 people, debris fell on them, killed them. 1 person, a tree fell over. And the 1 person when the tree fell over and 1 person was electrocuted, what they did is what we tell people never to do. They went out in the middle of the lull in the storm. And you don't know a lot of times if there's wires out there, whatever, and also that lull, you don't know what the hangers and leaners and stuff's going to fall or what's going to hit you. So you really need to wait until the storm has subsided. And we have to, and when you get it going back into beachside and places like that, you're going to wait till the bridges are open. We also had, and this is probably the saddest thing of all, you all remember this, we had 1 child die because people used a generator without adequate ventilation. They actually had it in a closed house. But what we didn't tell you, which came out of our follow-up, 25 people were treated for carbon monoxide and almost died from the same thing. You cannot operate a generator in a closed space. It's a death trap. We've got to get that message out. I mean, that's 26 people. We don't know how many more got sick and didn't tell us. So these were ones that had to be treated, but that's very dangerous.
I would ask too that people be very careful of the gas fumes.
Yes.
My husband yesterday was trying to fill up a generator with some gas and spilled gas, and I walked into the area and about killed over myself just from the fumes, and he didn't even, at that point, he didn't even realize that there were fumes, so.
Mr. Chair, that's all I have to report.
Do you
except
have,
that with
have
the
a list
legislation.
of those items that you want us to?
First and foremost, I'll do them in order, is that I need you to approve that I am going to close off the beaches as of the end of, not the beaches, the access, the driving access as of the end of today.
Okay.
So I need you to agree to that.
Agree or a motion?
Probably make a motion.
I'll
would be
make a
best.
motion. So moved.
Motion made and seconded to give the county manager permission or the authority to close off
And
vehicular
parks. And parks.
Okay.
vehicular access and parks.
My motion
On
stands
beach,
on that.
on the beach and in our parks. Because we're going to pull back and put all our equipment away.
Okay,
Okay.
so moved.
So that's moved and seconded. Any objection? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimous.
You have to agree to me suggesting that we close Monday and Friday, this Friday and Monday.
Made and seconded, Ms. Denny's and Ms.
I'll do
Wheeler.
that.
Made and saying any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Also, Donna said, you're assuming something that you got to tell them. I'm assuming in that we're also going to close the libraries on Saturday and Sunday also.
All county facilities.
Yes. So libraries also.
I think we assumed that.
Okay.
If the employees of the library are not there, the library wouldn't be open, right?
Unless we don't like our library employees. And we love our library employees.
Okay.
And then Dan has some legislation for you that what we thought we would do is like we did in the past, you approve it, the council approves it, and then the chair can sign it. And then I don't activate that unless I'll call the chair back and we'll tell you all when we're going to do it. But then I have the written document in my hand and I attest to it when the time comes. For example, the mandatory evacuation or the curfew. We're not going to get into that at this point. We're going to have to look at this storm, the intensity, the wind speed, and everything before we make that.
I know some of the cities have declared states of emergency. Do we need to do that as well at the county, or is this suffice for what we're doing?
Oh, that's the other thing, yes. Dan will be giving you that. That is
Okay, all right,
absolutely,
all right.
you have to do that.
I
Okay,
discussed that
gotcha.
yesterday.
You know,
Yep.
Mr. Manager, before we go into all this too, another issue, we were fortunate in Matthew because our dunes held.
Yes,
Those dunes don't exist anymore.
A lot of-
They've been flattened.
True.
So this is going to have a completely, depending where this comes through, with erosion in some of our beach areas, expect a completely different outcome because the dunes have all been flattened. So that insulation that we had from Mother Nature there along the beach is gone.
yes. The other thing, in fact, what they're telling us is, you might want to go take pictures of all the stuff that you haven't fixed yet, because now you can show the new damage to the unfixed stuff.
Well, and this is going to be a little more, because I know down in Bethune Beach, I mean, when this was Matthew, 30, 40 miles offshore with
Right.
lower wind speeds, when that water surge, and it was a surge came up, let's just pray it diverts and goes a different way, because this will have a completely different outcome in those barrier acts.
Absolutely. This is to be taken very, very seriously. And
Okay,
I
so
cannot believe we're doing this again.
on this emergency order, Mr. Eckert, you want us to make a motion on the declared emergency?
Yes, sir. If the council were not in session, you'd have the authority to do it on your own.
I understand
but
that.
Since the council's in session, I think a motion's in order.
Is there a motion? Ms. Wheeler?
I'll second.
Second, Ms. Post. The declaration of local emergency is made and second. Any objection? Hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimous. So that's taken care of, and everything
And-
else. Sorry, you have one more.
Yes,
Well, a further discussion, if I may.
Sure.
But your declaration, according to your county code, empowers the chair to do certain things. One of them is an order of evacuation. I don't think we know exactly when, I don't think Mr. Judge is ready to say what that time is, so you would be executing that after discussion tomorrow at the Managers Advisory Group. But I wanted the council to know that that's one consequence of what we anticipate to be the state of emergency you've just declared. The code also actually authorizes you to order a curfew. I don't know that we're ready to say exactly when those times would be. We certainly would want the input of the sheriff.
Right.
It's probably reasonable to expect that the curfew would be, for example, from midnight Saturday to Sunday morning at 7, or from you really don't know. You could have a 30-hour period. The court, so you could if you can rely upon the authority in the code to do that, or you could, with belt and suspenders, pass an emergency ordinance today and provide for it. I have blanks in here, but you could provide for it to be at times ordered by the chair, attested to by the county manager.
Since that power or that
already there.
obligation is already given specifically, I don't really see a need in further doing that. Do you really, Dan?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's leave that off, and then we'll with the county manager and the sheriff will help make that determination, and we'll do it at that time.
Right. As long as I have your blessing, we can move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, for all of you that have been through it and then you haven't, I mean, this really is the essence of when this whole emergency management, it really is all about these other things. It's about, and the other thing's money. I mean, it's all about trying to make sure that we do things judiciously, because the bills are going to come home, and I'm more worried now about getting paid than I ever have been.
I'm not worried about that. You'll handle it. And I think what Mr. Patterson has brought up is the same thing. All of us are being inundated with questions, calls, text messages, message on Facebook, tweets.
Right.
We're all getting that. And so the biggest thing that I see is people want answers. I mean, just like, okay, when's it going to hit? Now, we can't tell you that. Right. But what we can do is to inform them that it, like you just said, if you have a place to go and you're going to evacuate, go now. If I hadn't been here, I would have left Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
I would have been gone based upon this. This is a bad one, so it's going to be bad. Ms. Post, you had a question or an idea or a thought that you wanted to share, what you kind of started on delaying. I know we all got that information on what the legislature allowed to change that. We have the meeting scheduled. It's advertised and posted. It's blue skies outside tonight. I think that we'd be derelict in our duty since it's already done. We don't know when we would be able to have another one. If the storm hits badly, and then that's only the first one. So if we tried to do one next week, put it off, what day would that be? Would the staff be able to assemble, because they're not going to be here Monday? I would love not to have had this meeting and been home getting all my stuff ready too, but we're here, so.
Well, it's just that it's an evening meeting at 6 o'clock as people are preparing for the storm, and we are discussing how people desperately need to prepare for this storm, and the state seems to think it's important enough to put out this stuff. Department of Revenue thinks it's important enough to put out the emergency orders, to cancel things like this and to suspend schedules and do things like that for just this specific case.
Right.
And again, the entire point of a public meeting is to allow the public the ability to come and share in these discussions. And I don't think that we're being fair to the public to do that as people are preparing for the hurricane. And if the state, it looks like the state has that same feeling, or the state wouldn't have put out all this stuff, then I really think that we should look at that.
Okay. Mr. Patterson?
My past experiences here, generally, if we don't have the meeting, there'll be people coming expecting a meeting that probably won't get the notice. It's already been advertised, and generally speaking, in the several years that I've been sitting here, we never really have more than a couple of people showing up anyway. A lot of the people are listening on the internet just to see what's being discussed. So I don't think between now and everything, as soon as the wind hits the fan here, there's not going to be really any appropriate time, because people will be recovering from the damage. There'll be a million reasons. I think tonight was the best time to get this part of it over with. Maybe when we do our final determination, which is September 21st, maybe we could consider something then, or maybe everything will be settled down and people will still have people coming, on the 21st. But I will tell you, I mean, this is your first budget thing here. Maybe one or two people actually come in, and maybe those one or two are planning on being here tonight. So, and we had somebody this morning.
Well, I know that has been brought up, that, well, no one comes to them anyway. Well, it's still a public meeting, and I think that we should provide that access to the public, and I don't think that this is an appropriate time to be.
Okay, I think your point is taken. I believe we should go ahead and have
Certainly no one's going to be
meeting.
listening on the internet.
There's not going to be a better time that we can guarantee based upon the weather right now. And I know people are trying to get ready. Some people are trying to leave. I'm getting people complain about the band members having to go to the football games tonight because they can't leave. You're going to have that. But I just say we go ahead and have the meeting tonight if there is a significant change. This was made for people who are, let's say that the hurricane hit yesterday and the Keys had their budget for that night, and they couldn't have a meeting. And that's what the legislature, Pat and Ms. Cusack y'all may have been involved in that legislation. Ms. Cusack?
I think that your points are well taken. All your points are well taken. We understand why we have the meeting. We also understand the fact that we want to do due diligence as it relates to what we have advertised. I just think that it's kind of like the 11th hour. It would be wonderful if we were getting folk saying that they wanted to come to the public hearing this evening, but they can't because of circumstances, and requesting that we would postpone or have it at a different time. But we've had no correspondence from anyone that has a problem with us going on with business as usual. The schools are open today. And so I just think that it's just, I understand, but I know that we have to do what we need to do to make sure that we have met our responsibility and obligation by having 2 public hearings. And this is the first of the 2. And so even reluctantly, I agree that we need to go on with our meeting tonight.
I think unless we hear a motion and consensus of doing that, I think the consensus is we go ahead and have the meeting at this point. And the point is taken, and we know why the state did what they did. And we're not even sure when we could get an advertised meeting, although they have released. I read the same thing that you read. We all got that same memo. And I looked at it and I thought, well, maybe we could. But it's those that are going to come tonight, as Mr. Patterson mentioned, had planned to come tonight, will be here tonight. And those that weren't planning to come wouldn't come this week or next week. So I think the point is well taken. But I think the public will have an opportunity, and this is just their first opportunity. They also will have the opportunity for the second one. So let's move on. Was there anything else, Jim? You had another action?
No, I believe, except for Joyce and I talked, let's remember the two P's. Let's pray and let's prepare.
And there are several joint combined prayer vigils tonight. I know there's several on Beachside. There's a couple different ones. Several pastors are joining. Several elected officials are joining at 6 o'clock. They're going to be doing that. I remember on Matthew, I remember somebody posted on Facebook, let's start praying, and it wasn't an hour after that thing went whoop, to the right. So it can happen. I know that we have no control over making it happen. So I'll defer to that individual, that entity that can make it happen. So we're finished with that. Is there have no public participation cards? So that's done. Discussion of matters not on the agenda. So you were right on track on that one, Ms. Post. And first would be you again. Closing comments or matters not on the agenda, requests?
She has a little list here today.
I do, just like you always have a list, Pat.
No, I don't.
I see your list.
He'll have time to add to his because
Yeah,
he's
that's
next to
right.
last. Now let Ms. Wheeler.
I did just want to make mention that I was speaking with Josh Wagner, and we're working on this Veterans Plaza together. And the group that had originally started felt that a 501c3 needed to be established, and they are in the process of doing that, of which they have members that will be on the board. One's a veteran and one's an attorney, and also a member from the Daytona Rotary. I am not going to be a board member, but I would like to make sure that the council is still in agreement that I continue to work with them for the Veterans Plaza. This is in my district, and I'm pretty passionate with it. I just want everybody to know.
Okay, they are aware it'll take a couple of years to get IRS.
To get what?
Or to get the IRS deducted,
yeah,
that part. I mean, you can apply for it, but it may even take longer than 2 years. I set one up that took almost 3, but that's.
I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure everybody knows, and it's okay with me continuing to work with them towards getting
I don't see any
funding.
problem. Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted you to be aware of that the Rachel Robinson Park over with the City Island Library is moving, and I've been meeting with Kelly White, and as far as some signage to go at the park, and so things are, you've not heard much about it recently, but I just want you to be abreast that we are moving with that naming of the park, and everything is in order, and we'll continue to do the work, and I'll just keep you posted.
Ms. Cusack, Ms. Cusack, just so everyone knows, I met with the Tortugas on their future development down there, and I mentioned to her how important it was what we were going to do with that park and what we were going to name it, and they jumped on it and said that we want to be part of that celebration. So we may be able to expand that and get more publicity out of that, because they found it to be, obviously they have a certain interest because of the park, but they thought they could add to trying to make it a bigger event.
Thank you, Mr. Deneen. And
Okay.
also, if there is any information out there about the energy efficiency financing programs that are out, do you, I think we need to have some
We're gonna
dialogue
bring-
and discussion.
We're going to bring that forward. Mr. Patterson will remember this. This was the PACE program.
PACE program? Yeah.
And so we're going to provide you with some additional information, and it's always up to the council on what they want to do.
I've only been working on this about 4 years.
I just think that we need to get more involved to get more information as to where we as a county council ought to be on this issue. So those were my only two comments, and as Mr. Chair has said and Mr. Deneen both, we just have to be mindful of the 2 Ps, pray and prepare, as we go into a storm, because we have many in life, and this is just one of them that will test our courage as good stewards. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I say in the road of life, just be thankful we only have the bumps and we don't have a bunch of sinkholes, that you can't get out of. So it's kind of my words of wisdom for that. You ready?
Yeah.
Ms. Post.
Okay, I found my paper. I would like us to talk again. When we discussed the resolution for the animal cruelty, it was left with that we would, let's see if I can find the wording here, that we would look at it again if it could be reworded, that we would, actually that's exactly what it says, that we would look at the issue again if it would be reworded. So I had county staff, I had the attorneys go through and reword the resolution. I know some of the issues, the 2 main issues it seemed in that discussion was that the laws weren't as, or that the child abuse laws were less harsh than some of the animal cruelty laws. And then the other discussion was that we were, that it was targeting all animals. So I had staff make it a little bit more general. There are many cities around Volusia County that have supported the resolution, or supported their own resolutions, and many other governmental entities around the state that are supporting various resolutions. And it's not creating policy specifically, it's just a resolution showing support, in support, and showing that anyone that maliciously harms an animal, that we should ensure that we are imposing penalties on those people, and that we're setting and maintaining those standards. So I had them reworded. I'd like us to look at it again and see if anyone is in agreement with putting forth a resolution, a very general resolution, simply stating that we are, actually, I guess I can read the section, stating that it's the priority of County of Volusia to promote the health, safety, and welfare of animals in the county and within the state, whereas animal cruelty is a shameful act and no animal should feel endangered from abuse, forced violence, or neglect, and whereas we as a council would support legislative efforts to impose strict penalties on those who engage in acts of animal cruelty. There are no specifics in there. It doesn't give specifics as to specific legislation that we as a council are specifically in favor of. It's simply stating that we are in favor of that, and also supporting legislative efforts to improve the quality of life for all animals.
Mr. Patterson.
I think this is a mile wide here. When you're saying animals, I guess those with hunting licenses who
It's
go
animal
out,
cruelty, though.
well, going out and shooting a deer, that's animal cruelty to some people.
That's not against the law unless.
I don't know. It doesn't state.
Let-
It doesn't state
Mr.
here.
Post, let him speak, and then
Yeah, my point of it is it's so broad that I could never support this at all. Listen, I've had dogs and cats and bunny rabbits and stuff like that all my life. And I would never harm them, but I might want to debate the fact is that the child protection laws are not as strict as the animal cruelty, so I just can't support this at all, period.
How about if we were to reword it to say maliciously harming animals?
But there again, you're
Okay.
talking about all kinds of animals.
Right. Here's where it comes down to. Right now, it's a
Do
class.
the resolutions
Right
on
now,
a
it's a
general
class
basis
3 felony.
over and over.
Right now, it's a class 3 felony. And what it boils down to is that from the courts, they have not been handing down the sentences, which we have no control over. And that's what I responded to the 20 or 30 people that responded to me that said Pennsylvania is doing it better. Well, Pennsylvania only just put it in. And you don't see that what you see is for the lack of accountability on people's actions is why you have so much more lack of respect for property, animals, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happened.
Right.
If you go back to the Tudors and watch that, where they actually boil the people in oil and cut their heads off, you might have something. But you have people getting off with killing someone with very little serving anything, and that's what to me has caused the problem.
It has, and that's actually why that specific legislation that we discussed before that has now been taken out of this proposal or resolution.
If the courts are not going to enforce a 3, are they going to enforce a 2?
Yes, because it's the point system.
We don't know that. Now, the point system has only to do with the length of time you can give, and it's only a guideline.
Well, that's
according
the
to
guideline that they use.
Well, they don't have to. If you're going to have a class 3 felony and tell a person you get 5 years probation, okay? And if you do it again, you come back. That's part of the guideline. And they can give 5 years. They can give 5 years probation according to the judge that I talked to. Now, maybe Dan
So Ed,
says
you're
it's different.
talking to someone with a tremendous background in law enforcement, so I totally understand the judicial system, totally understand the putting charges on people, and I can tell you that I've worked a number of cases over the years, including a homicide where a 19-year-old killed another 19-year-old, and I went into the 15-year-old's bedroom, the brother, and had a whole bookcase of animal bones that he had been killing over the years.
Right.
We could go into
Yeah.
to all this in the background, but we're not arguing that point. We're not arguing that the judges aren't doing their job, that the state attorney's not doing their job, that everybody needs to do better there. It's simply a resolution saying that we're
Can I make a comment?
in favor.
I mean, I think all of us at this point, we can make, Mr. Lowry.
Yeah.
We're against people
We have a
being
long
malicious
day
to
planned.
animals.
I don't like the idea of getting something and have to make a decision on it. If
Right.
nothing else, let's take us home, look it over. We got a lot of stuff we got to get done today.
Right. Let's do that. And if you want to have it put on the agenda for consideration, for discussion.
I asked to have
Okay.
it on the agenda, but okay.
So
All right.
that's not it. You have more time. Oh, you have something else?
That's it.
Didn't want to cut short. Ms. Dennis.
Actually, the only thing I have to say is thank you to staff. We did 2 tours of the Emergency Operations Center, an evening and a morning tour. And the positive feedback that I got from that, and I was glad to see the property managers that showed up and some insurance agents and some people very involved in this whole process of emergency ops. So it's very timely. I've been asked if we could do it again. I think it's obviously going to be timely again, but everybody needs a break. But thank you. It was very informative. Thank you. That's all.
Dr. Lowry.
Just briefly, I just want to say thanks to staff for helping me with some things over in the Deltona area. I won't go into specifics, but you guys have been extremely helpful. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Patterson. He's got a list.
If I don't write it down, you believe me, I'll never get to it.
You just said you didn't have a list.
When somebody just walked in the room that reminded me of something I needed to talk about. as we talked this morning about annexation of that property into the Spring Hill CRA. So I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to come forward with or work with the city of DeLand on that annexation request.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We'd be happy to, I mean, the property's within the CRA. I'm not sure I understood exactly the mayor's point. If you already established the base year, if it's completed by this year, then.
So, well, I was under the impression that it has not been brought into the CRA.
We put it in. So
the property lies within the CRA.
Oh, okay. Well, then what was the?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understood the point. If the city's free to annex it, if it meets criteria otherwise, and I think it does. And so I was puzzled by what the mayor was saying.
Yeah, you know, actually, 'cause, I know Joyce and I have been at the meetings. We talked about this. I guess we did bring it into the CRA.
In case we missed the point, we'll be happy to work with the city. I talked briefly with Mr. Ployce as he left to try to understand the point. And
okay, maybe let me just change it. Since there's no second to that motion, let's just I direct staff to find out what the heck's going on and report back to the council.
Okay.
How's that?
All right.
My other issue, not really issue, was the Sunrail Commission meeting last week. Mr. Deneen and Mr. Eckert and several others, George Rechtenwald and John and Julie, were all at the Sunrail Commission meeting. We had an opportunity to present our amendments, and we're hoping that it gets on the agenda here. There was a lot of questions asking if the county still supported the Sunrail to DeLand, which I reiterated that the council does. We have the money set aside to, if that ever should happen. We just don't want it to be more than what we'd agreed upon. Made it abundantly clear that had the previous council known that Sunrail station wasn't built by now, they probably never would have agreed to be part of the Sunrail system. And I think Osceola County is coming forward with what they'd like as an amendment to it. So we should be getting a meeting here sometime soon to go over those amendments, hopefully on an agenda to try to get those things approved. So that is the most recent update. Okay, any questions?
Ms. Patterson, can I add a few comments to
Yes,
that?
sir.
Yes, Ms. Patterson did a great job down there trying to explain this to people in some cases I don't think wanted to hear it. So he asked me to come to the microphone because I could speak for the council. And you may hear back, but I made a couple things abundantly clear. Under no scenario would we pay more than the original agreement. No ifs, ands, or buts. Don't waste our time, because they were looking at models where you pay. You can get it, but you pay more. Well, that's a no-go. Number two, that we are not going to take anything less than the one concession we gave on, which was a lot of money, of the like the small amount of single track over the bridge. That was the big give. We don't want to hear no more scenarios about single track all the way or whatever. These are all cheap ways to not get you what you signed up for. Number three, as Mr. Patterson told them, you're all getting up ready to go into dessert. We haven't even got an appetizer. So let's start remembering who got cut out of the process here. Number four, that I told them the expectation of this council is that we're not in favor of doing any expansions on that system and actually going to be opposed to any kind of increased changes that go beyond what they told us the debt would be. And the debt was supposed to be no more than $10 million by 2036. The last debt numbers we got were $38 million already. So we would be opposed until at least they address our issue. We need them to address, and that we do not believe that January, we believe that they have to make the changes and get them ready so that if we don't get funding by January of 2019, it will be impossible, and FDOT agreed with this, that you cannot make the system work for us in terms of them building it and testing it if they don't have the money by January of 2019. So these changes to our, and we have a right under the contract specifically to renegotiate this agreement if we did not get what we got. But getting them to understand we did not get something, I think Mr. Patterson did a great job in getting them to understand that we need to address this and we got to quit pretending. So it's going to be a big issue.
Okay. Next.
That's all, folks.
Okay. I just have two quick ones. One, I keep getting requests from an individual that feels that he is being shortchanged on being provided access to information for reporting. And I continue to explain to the individual that that is not my decision, nor is it the council's decision, that we set the policy that everyone that wants to be a reporter or provide news is up to us. It's not a policy decision. And that if whatever department chooses, it's their choice. We don't interfere with that, the operation of that. And I continually get bombarded that I'm not doing my job, and I am. I feel that we are as a council, and that's not our responsibility.
The only purview, and I think I know the one you're talking about, is that we are completely transparent. We provide information all the time. We provide to any news agency. But what we don't do is we do not supersede the decision by other elected officials on their decision not to produce information. If they're my employees and they're under me and under my direct supervision, they are to be transparent. We have a process for that. But if an individual elected official, that's the exception to this, whether it's the election supervisor or something, says that I plan on only giving this information out, I believe by the state law that they were elected under, that they have a right to make that decision.
And that was my understanding as well, and that's what I based my decision on, plus the fact that it's not up to us to do that, because you don't have the authority even to do that as well. It'd be like going in and tell the clerk of the court or the property appraiser, here's who you're going to release the information to. You don't do that. Nope. One more quick one, and then I've got to go to the rest. I keep getting asked about participating with the Volusia League of Cities, and we have a full complement of us here. I will be willing to pay half of the first year's fee if I can get you to support the other half. I just feel it's so important as we're trying to work together on all these issues, especially with the transportation that we're working on. I know that we meet and we talk, but they didn't laugh at us at a meeting where none of us were there, but when they call Volusia County out and no one's there, I feel bad. And I just would really like to see us to reconsider it. I know that I was on the losing end of that, and I probably shouldn't be doing it, but I will. And
I will support you on that, but you're not going to pay half of it.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
ridiculous.
that's necessary. My city commissioner, Judy Riker, from New Smyrna Beach, approached me too and asked if the council would reconsider. And I think we should. I agree with you, but I do not agree that it should come out of your pocket. How much is it to join the League of Cities? Do you know?
What is it?
It's
greatly
2,000.
it's greatly reduced. I think it's 2,000.
I think it's 2,000 a year, and we would get the balance of this year plus.
Yeah.
And the League of Cities paid, or not the League of Cities, but the individual cities paid to come to the State of the County address for the county to support the county, so.
Well,
I
so
make a
just
motion
shows
that
good
the
faith.
Volusia County Council join the Volusia League of Cities.
I
Is there a
second.
Second by Ms. Wheeler. Any other discussion? All in favor, say
Yes.
aye. Up. I've got,
Oh, me.
now I have you, Pat. I didn't have you before. Mr. Patterson. I got you, Ms. Cusack. Sorry. You were there and then you weren't, so now you're there. Okay, sorry.
Never not.
You're gonna make me say something about that leopard outfit.
Always been here. She's never been.
Here you are.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just think that and I agree that we should be participants in reach out, give another olive branch to the League of Cities, and that it's just. But you gotta remember that there's some history that we have to, on both sides, that we need to be mindful of the fact that we are not a separate entity in government, but we are part of, and they must embrace that also. And so, even though I agreed with us leaving, I do agree that we should come back and see if we can make a fresh start on all sides.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Patterson.
I've been all over the place today on some crazy issues, and this is another crazy one. For years, that, you know, my first 6 years on the county council, I went to the League of Cities supper club meeting, because that's about all that went on. Was just everybody came in there. They had somebody who paid for the cocktail hour. Everybody got themselves liquored up, and then after that, they went in there and had dinner, and then, you know, had a little contest to see who dragged the most members there, and the taxpayers for those cities ended up paying for their people to come in there and have a free dinner. But nothing that I ever saw was evident done in those 6 years. That's why for the last 4 or 5 years now, I haven't gone. I've gone to a couple of them, and I still see the same thing. So just make it known for what it is. It's the League of Supper Clubs meeting with the cities. That's all it is. It's a supper club. So
It's all about relationships.
Okay.
you know, and then they get to their city commission meetings, and then they rip into us.
Well,
So
there's
it's
no
time
more,
for them to change.
no more speakers on there. Any other discussion? Any objection to the motion?
Yes.
Was it Mr. Patterson? You too, Mr. Lowry? No. Objection? Any objection? Only one objection. The motion passes 6-1.
Yay!
Thank you. And I don't have to pay the $1,000, but I would have gladly. So, and that ends. It doesn't end it. Because I was going to starting with you first, down there.
Mr. Chair, just one quick thing here.
Sure.
And,
Mr. Deneen took your time, so I'll let you take his.
Yeah, he did. I got a letter from Jack Ladvala, Senator Ladvala, and I want to pass this on. That
I got it.
maybe this may be something that we need to put on our legislative agenda, but it deals with beaches, and he's got legislation, Senate Bill 174 to update Florida's beach management program. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I think maybe if we could have staff look at this, and maybe it's something we could add as an addendum onto our thing. He passed it in the Senate last year. Of course, it went nowhere in the House, but it may be, with the storm coming and everything, it might be important to us that this be considered, so.
I think it would be good. That's the one, I think
I
most
think we
of
all
us
got that.
Oh, you all got that
Yes,
letter?
I
Okay.
got that from
Senator Lepel.
Senator Huckel. Dorothy
Okay.
Senate.
So, Jim, you're aware of that, I think, as well, so if you can put that on
Okay.
without objection from anyone.
As long as there's no objection from anyone.
I didn't hear anybody object to putting that on. You know what he's talking about, right? You got the same. Okay. No objection from anyone.
Okay.
It's on. It's
I'm
up to you
still
now.
against the League of Cities here. I'm joining the League of Cities.
I have nothing, except that we have to meet now in
Right.
executive session.
Let's go. Dan?
Yes, sir. I distributed to you by email this morning, and we're happy to furnish a copy to the press if they're interested. The complaint that we filed yesterday afternoon in the petition for writ of certiorari regarding the denial by the city of Daytona Beach of the county's application for, excuse me, what did I say? Daytona Beach Shores, excuse me. Actually, there's quite a contrast in that regard on this issue between the two cities. The city of Daytona Beach Shores denial of an application for site plan and the rezoning, which the city had suggested to us as a course of action. Later this month, the the county's petition challenging the amendment to their zoning ordinance, which was passed in at a later meeting, is also due. But as we've considered this issue, we've looked at the issue of access, which was the topic of discussion this morning, and what the nature of the permission that we sought from the city, actually, I think you would conclude that while the county has tried to be a good neighbor, and certainly would to have further discussion with the city over some issues, that the prerogative to issue development permits for these locations belongs with the county council, not with the city of Daytona Beach Shores. And the charter provides that the public has a right of access to the beaches and the right to use the beaches. That right is a public trust which the council shall by ordinance define, protect, and enforce. The charter provides that you are to regulate operation of vehicles on beaches and approaches. The charter defines beach relating to lands and waters lying seaward of the seawall and line of permanent vegetation. An approach refers to property over which there exists a public right-of-way by title, prescription, custom, or otherwise for beach ingress and egress between the beach and the easternmost north-south right-of-way, which is where we're talking. And it says that the county shall have jurisdiction over the coastal beaches and approaches, as well as exclusive authority to regulate the beaches and public beach access and use. The charter, I think a fair reading of the charter is that imposing that responsibility on you, it also confers the power to carry out that responsibility. And that approach should not be thought of so narrowly as to include county-owned property in these locations, which the sole purpose of, a purpose of which is to provide access to the beach by means of parking. The city says, I think in the city's view, approaches can include parking, but parking is not, and then foot access to the beach is not an approach. I don't think the charter intends that result. So I would ask your authority to publish an ordinance for your consideration. At this point, given the deadlines, the publication deadlines, which are understandable, that have had to be altered by the newspaper, the ordinance would be brought before you in the first, if you concur, it would be brought before you in the first meeting of October rather than at the next meeting. I hope you might be able to consider it as part of your beach access workshop next meeting if you're still able to conduct even that. But regardless, it would be the first meeting in October, and we'd be clarifying that county-owned property between the easternmost north-south roadway and the beach is an approach. That's what it is, we think. And I think that clarification is needed in this instance. And the intention is that the county would be able to issue the development approach approvals necessary to provide for public access to the beach.
Mr. Patterson.
Hearing what Mr. Eckert has said, Mr. Chair, I move that we have staff bring us an ordinance by the 1st of October, at the 1st of October meeting, to clarify the areas.
You'd be clarifying the preemptive authority
clarifying the preemptive authority. Thank you, Dan. Preemptive authority.
To include approaches as we've
to include approaches to the beach.
And to declare that that the property on which the county owns east of the right-of-way, north-south right-of-way is an approach.
Yeah, you were talking so fast over there a few minutes
Well,
ago. I was trying to write it down.
I think the
but-
record will reflect that, so we're trying to say an approach includes these properties.
You're going to bring us back the ordinance that he's drafting, so when that comes back, it's
Yeah,
what he
but
said.
it
so
I just want to make sure
Sure.
that people know that what we're trying to do is clarify that.
Clarify the beach code with an ordinance.
That was my motion, yes.
Second, is there any discussion, further discussion? Ms. Wheeler?
Yeah, I think this is necessary to do. Not happy that we have to do this. I understand both sides. I certainly understand the city being upset about this property being purchased from the beginning. However, I think, the fact that it was purchased, and it was purchased prior to my being on council and some of the other ones on here, this is where we are, and negotiations would have been so much better if we could just work something out that was going to be agreeable. But I think we definitely need this clear.
Okay. Any other comments? Any objections to the motions and second? Hearing none, the motion passes. Anything else, Mr. Eckert?
No, sir.
Just one quick thing. I just got an alert from EPA has approved so that we would not run out of gasoline. They have adjusted the rule and regulation for requirements of volatility conventional gasoline through September 15th and September 26th. So to help assure supply in the 38 states that are affected by the producers of gasoline in the Houston area, I'm assuming. So that will help ensure that we will get the gasoline. And I know Governor Scott's waived the weight requirement and the time requirement so that those vehicles could get to us. So that should give the public some comfort in knowing that those stations that were closed yesterday will be open in the very near future. If there's nothing else,
Mr. Chair, you would be recessing.
yes.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
move that we recess till 6 p.m.
We are going to recess the council meeting until 6 o'clock this evening. It is 1:28. And
So we're not coming back to chambers after lunch? We're done?
where's, not till 6 o'clock.
As I understand it, to be going into executive session and
Executive session.
reconvening here at 6 o'clock.
You go into the training room, we have lunch for everybody. We'll relax, eat lunch, and then we'll walk you through